see the room, you want to see the presenter, right?
You guys are all fired up. Oh, how do I turn the music off?
Click on Pandora and then pause.
Who? Yes, you know. All right, everybody. So, welcome. All right, that's right. That's it. What we're doing. Beautiful song. So, everybody, real quick, if you could do me a favor, just hit silent on your cell phones. Put them on silent for me. Wanted to touch base real quick and just make sure that I did proper introductions for the crew. I know it's a little hot. We're going to try to get some shades in here. But I'm fired up for you people. And here's the thing I'm going to say. This is the beginning of a great journey if you allow it to be. All right? And I want to stress that. And Paul, I'm going to introduce him in a second. But you might want to grab a pen and paper. I'm just going to give you a couple key points here. I'm going to be in and out during the course of the training. I have about 10 interviews today, 10 tomorrow. And we're building this thing big. So, first of all, Don's not in the room, so I can't introduce him yet. But I just wanted to give you a couple key points on from me to you, since I brought everybody on. Here's the thing I will say, is that there's so many different types of people in this room, all different ages, backgrounds, experiences. And, you know, the coolest thing about our role here as a community director is it doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter where you grew up, your race, your religion, your background. Our largest order is from a 23-year-older that sold a $9,000 order with zero sales experience, zero background, and a college graduate. Right? Then you get people that are school teachers that have zero sales experience, like Rebecca, who's our #1, and she's crushing it. And then you have your seasoned professionals, and some of you are, that have been in sales for, 20 years. Here's the thing I want to tell you. Do not underestimate what is about to happen. Whether you're young, old, new, never done sales before, this is at the ground floor of CGI and the Staff Nation program. And so I'm excited. I personally have interviewed all, so welcome. And give yourselves a round of applause for that, folks. And I know Don's going to mention this, but I will say that just because you're here today does not mean that you may be here tomorrow. And this isn't some type of intimidation factor. I'm not trying to put pressure on you. You drove a long distance. You put your commitment in. But we're constantly evaluating. You have to think about this. CGI has 30 years of a footprint in cities all across America. And we're not going to just screw that up if somebody's not putting the effort in. They take it very serious. You're going to meet Frank, who's the president of the next division, and one of the founders. You're going to meet Bob, who is the chairman of the board. They'll be here, but they take their business serious. And so I encourage you to treat this like your own business. Although there's no upfront money, it's sweat equity. All right. So Derek, I'm sorry about that sun coming in, brother. All right. So I'm going to give you a couple.
My man's going to get a suntan.
Yeah.
I like it.
I'm going to give you 3 quick points, and then I'll introduce Donnie here because I'm not even supposed to be taking up this time. #1, write down, work hard. I know it sounds crazy, but I've trained 10,000 salespeople in my life. And I can tell you that the more you put into this, the more you get out of this. Work hard. Put a lot in. Your money is made here. It's 2.5 days. Learn it, absorb it, and treat it not like a job. And if you remember my interview, what does job stand for? Anybody want to yell that out?
Just over broke.
That's right. So, that's right. It is, right? Where else can you, now there's other avenues, right? You can make a lot of money in sales, but when you go out and sell a $9,000 order and make $2,700 in 20 minutes, it's pretty fun. It's pretty cool. So this is not a job. This is your own business. This is your own opportunity. Some of you want to move into leadership. I'll talk about that. #2 is don't question the program. Right? The program works when you work it. These guys know what they're doing. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have taken this opportunity to staff 2,500 community director roles. I'm tasked by myself to do that. It's tedious. I have to hear a bunch of stories. I have to watch a bunch of videos. and I have to coach half of you how to actually send the freaking video, right? And the email and Dropbox and all that. But don't question the program, it works. Listen, I'm very blunt to the point, and I've said this to a few of you. I do not get paid commission off of what you sell. Don doesn't, Paul doesn't. We don't, our structure is set up where I'm getting paid no matter what you do. But you'll see I'll pour a lot into it, and they will too. We have to sell 20 million for me just to see any type of commission. And we're at 100 grand. So what does that tell you? There's a lot to go.
19 million more, baby.
19 million more. 19,900,000, right? But here, that's the fun part. I love building. I love building businesses. I love building organizations. I took the state of New York from 3 million to 7.6 in just 2.5 years for my old company. I grew Jersey and Pennsylvania with 2 people in my other business to over 40 people, and they're franchisees. And I grew that business, and we're going to do the same thing here. So don't question it. Our interest is you succeeding at the highest level, and then someday maybe I'll be able to get a little sliver of what you sell, right? And then number 3 is appreciate what you have. Appreciate what you have here today. We have an unbelievable program and a product, which you'll see. They're constantly thinking 3, 4, 5 steps ahead of that. See, what Bob's really good at is thinking 4 years out of where people are today. What can we do that they're not doing, and bring that to the market, right? So that's what we're doing. And, oh, a bonus point. I'm sorry, Don. I got to throw the bonus point in. Have fun. Look, you're going to mess up. You're going to do some role playing. You may be partnered up with someone that has 0 sales experience. That's all right. Coach them, guide them. You may be partnered up with somebody that, you know, is different personality. It's all good. So one thing I do want to do is bring up the man, the myth, and the legend. Right? Don, come on up, and I know you hate when I do this. We've known each other for how long, Don? 15 years?
Long time, man. Long
15
time.
years.
Best 15 years of your life, I think.
He says that every time. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. By the way, you are at the ground course. Many of you know this is the 3rd. We've only had 3 trainings. We beta tested this program, and Don and I took this venture on because of Paul, who is one of the vice presidents of all of CGI, right? We're just little VPs of the Snap Nation, right? Paul is one of the VPs of the whole company, but Don is one of the best trainers I know. Matter of fact, he's not as good as me, but he is pretty damn good. All right? And I will say that he used to grew up in Connecticut, Fairfield, Connecticut. If you guys know where that is, what town was it?
Danbury.
Danbury. If you've ever heard of Danbury, he ran the Connecticut for our old business. Then he moved his family down to Tampa. He's obviously owns his own real estate company. He's a real estate investor, very heavily into that. And he loves residual income. He loves multiple streams of income. So we have big plans with this, but he's one of the most sharpest people I know. I mean, just what he gives of himself, you'll see. He's going to pour himself into this. The next 2.5 days, it's Don just going. And so I just want to say thank you for what you do. My partner, he makes me look good, and I can tell you that you're in great hands, although I'm going to be doing some of the training as well. But let's give it up for Mr. Don Hill.
So how you guys feeling? Good. We got a lot of work to do the next couple of days. You ready for that?
Yes.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to give you a chance to just relax for a little bit, though. Okay, so I know Mike just threw a lot at you, some notes, and there will be a couple things that I'll share with you that you might want to jot down as well. But for the first, say, 30, 40 minutes of your training, I'm just going to kind of set the tone for what we're going to cover together in the next couple of days. I do want you guys to know that this is going to be a very interactive training. Okay, so this is not going to be a lecture in any way for the next 2.5 days. You're not going to be sitting there listening to us talk. The most you'll listen to us talk is right now. You will be very involved throughout the course of the next couple of days as we practice pretty much every element of the actual presentation that we're going to have you guys walk out of here knowing by Thursday. But I have a couple of thoughts to kind of get things flowing, and Mike addressed some of this already. I don't know if you had a chance to Paul, would you mind standing in the back real quick? I don't know, I think everybody here has met Paul. Paul's going to be helping out a lot during the course of this training. He's one of the most important people in the organization. Mike mentioned that we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Paul, and that's completely true. I've known Paul for probably about as long as I've known Mike. I would say 15 years, since you were, what, a freshman in college, I think?
Yeah.
You know, Paul was working in my office in another company, coming in as a freshman in college, and you know, I trained him. No, I'm just kidding. No, we've grown a lot together in the business. I've known Paul. You know, I've seen him get married now. He's about to have his first kid coming up in January. There's a lot of exciting things that have happened over the last 15 years, and Paul's going to be helping out a lot throughout the course of the training. Real quick, Paul, what would you say are your 2 biggest keys to success for them to get the most out of this training?
Dive in. I mean, you know, what you put in, very simple, is, you know, what you're going to get out of it. You know, we are building this division because we are excited where the company is going. You know, our company as a whole had its best sales week ever last week. And, you know, with the division that we're building here, we're looking to just continue to add on that, you know, going forward and making 2018 the best year ever with the company, so that fires us up. But just really dive in, you know, think positively about it, and just keep an open mind. And we are here to help you. I mean, one thing that you'll know from Mike to Don to myself, we're going to set you up with we have a group texting app that everyone's involved in, from the people in the back end that do the support. So if you're at an appointment and we need to get something up on a client's website, they're there to, you know, help immediately. The text has, you know, people that started months before you, so they've already been in your position. So when you're like, oh, you know, this just happened, they'll be able to, you know, get involved as well. So just have a good time, you know, get involved. I know, you know, we're here for 2.5 days, so we're going to give you a good amount of stuff in 2.5 days, so that you can get out and really hit the ground running. So enjoy.
You know what's great about this, before Don goes on, is that everybody's different in here. Paul's a different personality than myself. He's very more lower key. I'm like the crazy man of the group, and you know, I just live every day to its fullest, and everybody can succeed at the highest levels. He's one of the top salespeople at CGI as well, so that's how he got moved up. What's also really cool, and Paul didn't say this, you'll meet Frank. That's his uncle. And so Frank, what do you think if this company wasn't, you know, something that would he bring his own family into the business? No, you know, these guys are entrenched in Rochester. They're very well connected. What's cool about this is it's almost like a mini Google. When you take the tour, you know, 5, where we're going to have dinner tonight, pool table, dartboards, pinball machine, I mean, you know, foosball table, it's really cool. And so what I love about Paul is that he will always be here for you. So we're kind of like, we call us the stools, right? Frank's the top, and then us 3 legs right there, and, you know, and we're working in synergy. So thank you, Paul. And when he walked out,
You're going to actually meet a lot of people over the next couple of days. You're going to probably, you know, just start to get a feel. One of our goals with this whole training is to allow you to kind of get a feel of the culture of the company. And so you'll have people popping in and out over the course of the 3 days, just to share for 30 seconds, just why they love working with CGI, when they started. And you'll see people in all different positions, by the way. Some that are what we call sales associates, where they set up appointments. Some who are sales executives, people who work in our account team. Many of you have heard probably through the interviews with Mike that we have a pretty cool account team that helps you retain clients. Have you guys heard about that?
yeah.
And that's an amazing renewal, residual income opportunity. Mike mentioned earlier that I love residual income. I love building passive income, and the opportunity for you as a business owner and as a community director to build long-term wealth here, because of the fact that we have an 85 to 90% retention with our clients, is a wow factor. And I hope that's something you guys really understand and embrace, because you're going to meet Tom tomorrow, who really runs that whole program and does an amazing job with it. And before Mike runs out, I just want to I know you guys are all here today, you know Mike, you've interviewed with Mike. Mike, by far, I've known Mike, like he said, for 15 years, and in all seriousness, he is the best, what I would call, recruiter. And sometimes it's interesting, when you hear the word recruiter, in some circles there's a negative connotation to what being a recruiter is. And, you know, I don't know if you ever felt that way, but to me, recruiting is one of the most honorable things that you can do. Because it just means that you believe in what you're trying to spew. You know, you believe in whatever mission that is. If you're in the military and you're a recruiter, you believe that that's going to benefit people, right? If you're in a business and you're trying to recruit people into that business, it's because you believe in the business. And you believe it's going to help their lives as well. And Mike has been a recruiter for a long time, going back to other companies that we worked with together. And he is the best recruiter I've personally ever seen. And I don't say that just, you know, just because in front of you. I've said it to him personally, one-on-one. His skill set, his ability to just work like an animal from interviews from 7 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night if it took that. I mean, he's one of the hardest workers I know. And so all of you guys wouldn't even be here today for the most part if it wasn't for Mike, so let's just thank him real quick. Okay, so I want to start off by saying that there might be a few of you in the room that could be potentially a little bit nervous. How many of you, this is your first experience in a sales role? So most of you do have some experience. So about 4 or 5 of you, this is the first time that you would really be in a true sales role. Is it fair to say that for the rest of you then, this is old hat for you? Right? Sales is something that's in your blood, right? It's in the DNA. I don't care, to be honest, whether you have a lot of sales experience, whether you have absolutely no sales experience up until this point. I think when you're starting a new venture, it's fair to say that there's probably going to be certain elements of nervousness. Right? Some butterflies tend to flow a little bit in the stomach. There's always questions that can kind of arise. Is this really the right fit for me? Is this going to really be a long-term play? Is this really what I think it'll be? All the questions that I think are normal. And I do want you to know that it's okay to have questions, and it's okay to feel nervous. If you are nervous, I do want you to know that I'm not nervous. Okay? I've ran this type of a training for literally about 8 to 9 years now. And I've trained over 2,000, I was doing the math on this recently, it's about 3,000 people that I've trained in 3 different organizations to do this role, this direct sales appointment role where you're going to be presenting an amazing product. I'm a big believer that the products can always change, but the system is the same. To be successful in one organization is going to pretty much be the same system that's going to be successful in another organization. You can plug and play products all the time. And I firmly believe in this product, and I think you will too by the time you leave here on Thursday. But I want you to understand that the people who are going to help you run this training, I'm going to be doing the majority of it over the next couple of days. Paul's going to be running a lot of it, especially on Thursday. I'm actually going to be flying out late Wednesday night. Mike mentioned that I have 3 young kids at home. I have a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 9-month-old. So yes, our house is complete chaos right now, and my wife is an angel. But we have a church event on Thursday night at 6 o'clock that I want to make sure my kids are singing in it, and so I want to be back for that. So I'm coming back. I'm leaving tomorrow night. I won't be here most of the day on Thursday. Paul's going to be running that whole day, kind of get you guys ready to start your first role. But the next 2 days, I'm going to be heavily invested in just preparing you and getting you ready for this first week in the field. I do want to congratulate you, by the way, on being here. You might not realize this, but Mike and myself actually ran. We took over 300, and I think the number was 380 applicants for this training class. 380 applicants during the course of this training class. I mean, I don't know the exact breakdown of how it all worked out, but the reality is that if you're here for a reason. Okay? We believe that you have something that you can bring to the table, that you can be a real long-term asset here in this role, and I hope that makes you feel good and helps you, take it for whatever it's worth, but, congratulations on being accepted and on getting this thing started. Thanks, Al.
Also the Chief Woodard.
Chief Woodard executive.
We call it Woodard in Philly, by the way, just saying.
I'd like to kind of start off with a couple of things here, because I'm sure that many of you might have certain expectations of us, and I also want you to know, and I touched a little bit on this earlier, that we do have certain expectations of you as well. So I'm going to spend a few minutes here just kind of talking about what are some things that you should expect from us, okay, as your support team. And we'll talk about some of these specifics. So the first one I want you to realize is Mike mentioned this, but we do have a total commitment to your success. So one of the philosophies that I really believe in is that in order for us to succeed, that's a good teamwork right there, Lance, I like that. In order for us to succeed, we have to first help you to succeed. I mean, think about it. If our community directors don't do well, how does that make us look? Not very well, right? So let's shake hands. Thank you. So we're very confident. Mike mentioned we've been beta testing the product line with various people in CGI for almost 2 years now. So it wasn't like we just came up with an idea and said, all right, let's run with it. All right, we'd spent a lot of time, money, research into beta testing the mobile division of CGI, which is a very established company. It's been around since the mid-'80s. So it's not even like it's a brand new startup in its purest sense of the word. Okay, even though Snap Nation is a startup division of the CGI company. Okay, So that's cool because we have that background systems, we have the programs, we have all of the credibility, which is a key aspect of this, that CGI brings to the table with all of these community relationships that we've already built out for literally decades. We can lean on that, and we have been leaning on that. And we've been seeing how this product can tie into all that. So we have a very strong support system. I think Paul mentioned this earlier, but when you guys leave here on Thursday, we don't just kick you out of training. We're not going to teach everything that we know in these next 3 days. Okay, the goal of this training is just to get you prepared for your first week in the field. My goal is to have you leave. I mean, here's the reality. I've been doing this long enough to know when you start any new role, you need to see results to start to build confidence. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Confidence is a powerful thing. If you don't see any results, you start to lose confidence. And the more you start doubting yourself, the worse it becomes. And so there's got to be a way for you to leave training quickly and start to see results. We can quantify results however we want. We can talk about the number of referrals you're going to collect. We can talk about the number of appointments that you do. I think most people naturally gravitate towards the number of sales that you're going to want to sign, and we all want to sign sales. I get that. But I'm hoping that in the next few days, I can get you guys to buy in to the idea that your energy, your focus, should be on the number of completed appointments that you do. And just have faith that the sales will be there. Because like most sales roles, this is a numbers game. You've been in this type of industry before. I mean, you understand that the importance of that. It is a numbers game. And you have to always embrace that concept, guys, because we can't get too emotionally high or low about any individual appointment that we do. But what we should get invested in emotionally is the overall routine that we're buying into, week in and week out. We'll talk a lot about defining that in a little bit. So when we leave training on Thursday, if you want to move, by the way, you know, if you're sweating through your shirt or anything, feel free. But the reality, there are some extra chairs over there that you can hang out at if you ever, if you're losing weight or anything over there. So when you leave on Thursday, a couple of things. There's a program that we have called GroupMe, which is a group communication tool. Paul mentioned it earlier. You guys will all actually be activated on that by the time you walk out of this training. And it's a great tool for us to be able to communicate to all you guys as a group. Hey Bob, how are you?
How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. We were just talking about you earlier. So there's one of those elements that you're going to be hearing from. You're also going to have a scheduled one-on-one call. And that's going to be with somebody like myself, or with Paul, or with Frank. And we're going to be able to sit down with you individually, one-on-one. We're going to be able to dive into your individual appointment trackers, go into really what is happening on a personal level. We can get a lot accomplished in a group management way, but where the real work comes in is individually. Because the reality is that, Jeff over here might have a different schedule and might even have different goals than Tyler is going to have over here. Would you guys agree with that? Yeah. And so individually, I need to be able to figure out, Jeff wants to make 6 figures in his first full year with Snap Nation. So his game plan might be different than someone like Tyler as an example, who has another business and is interested in maybe making this a side income for a little while. And so it's a totally different strategy. And it's a totally different game plan based on where we're at. There are other programs, by the way. We have something called field training, which is a program where somebody will come out to you and actually go on the field with you for a full day, maybe even a couple of days. We have a national field trainer by the name of Al Flores, who you guys will meet. I believe Al's here, right?
He's field training right now.
Oh, he is field training right now. That's right. We might have him call in then, be able to show us. So, we like to have you go out and kind of prove yourself first before we invest in those type of resources. To have Al come to you, that obviously costs money, right, in Al's time. But if you go out into the field and you show through your effort, through your work ethic, that you're serious about this, and that you want us to view you as somebody who's serious about this, we have a lot of resources to be able to throw your way. And Al is one of those guys who we know that can make some things happen for you. And there are other things we'll talk about, guys. There's some website stuff. Technology obviously is what we do. So you're going to see some stuff that'll be right through our website that'll be helpful for you. We're going to practice that a lot in the next couple of days to help you feel the flow and start to see how you can utilize all those different resources. And there will be some other things we'll discuss along the way as well. The second thing that I want you to also expect from us, other than that total commitment to your success, is a strong work ethic as well. I mentioned earlier Mike running interviews from like 8 in the morning until 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And we're going to put in quality time and hours to make sure that you do well. Whether that's through our one-on-ones, our team meetings. You know, we know that we're heavily invested in wanting to make this program work for you and wanting to make sure that everything you came here for, whatever those individual expectations are that you have, which you've told your family about, which you've told your friends about, that you have in your heart, we want those things to be met. But we also know that that doesn't come easy. And that it's going to take a lot of work to be able to make that happen. And that whatever that vision is that you have for yourself, obviously we can't do it for you. You're going to have to put in the majority of that commitment and that work. But we have a team in place that's designed to be able to help you do that as well. By the way, occasionally I talk to somebody who has some preconceived expectations that truly hinder them. And I just want to kind of squash right here the idea that no matter where you're from, no matter what your background is, I mentioned earlier how many of you have sales experience or not. Some of you might be thinking here, I've done sales my whole life, this is going to be easy. You know, this product is awesome, I'm going to crush this. Some of you are thinking, man, I've never done sales, this is going to be, maybe this is going to be really hard. And I don't even know if I can do well, will I even get a sale in this business? Some of you are thinking, I'm from so-and-so, and you know, people in my area are never going to buy something like this. It's just, you know, $9,000 for a package I might throw out there? Who the heck's going to spend $9,000 on a package for their business? I don't know what the thoughts may or may not be that are going through your head. But I want to let you know that whatever you start thinking about, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right either way. Isn't that what Henry Ford said a long time ago? And so I want you to check that. And I want you to think and really monitor those thoughts because they're powerful. And a lot of times whatever thoughts you start to have will dictate what you actually start to do. And then what you start to do is going to obviously dictate your true results with the role. Finally, the last thing real quick that you can expect from us is 100% honesty. It doesn't mean we're perfect. It doesn't mean that we're not going to screw things up every now and again. What it does mean is that our intent is to have you grow here. And just like you would view a great coach, if you were working in a sports team or you were in any business that you viewed somebody as a potential mentor, generally speaking, you would want that person, I would hope, to be honest with you about your performance and also more importantly about your potential. And that doesn't always necessarily come across as nice and easy either. Okay? Sometimes that can come across as challenging. Is that a good or bad thing? I would hope you're the type of person who wants to be challenged. Because that's where growth comes from, guys, right? If we're just trying to be mediocre at everything we do, it probably isn't going to be the best fit. But one of the things that I try to take a lot of pride in the way I operate in my business is always what's next. Mike mentioned earlier, that's one of the things that Bob, I think, has built an entire company on. Is the concept of what's next? Where do we go from here? How will I be challenged personally and professionally in the business to be able to reach bigger and bigger things? And so there might be times where we'll have honest and tough conversations with you. Just about, hey man, here's the cool thing, by the way. When we break down for you one-on-one in our conversations, whatever your plan is, we're not going to come at it from a standpoint of, this is our company standards, this is our company expectations, you must meet this, or else, you know, you're out the door. What I mean by that is that everything here revolves around the individual community director and your plan. So once we have clarity on what that plan is, whether that is an income goal or something else that you know is specific, that you truly, truly want, once we've decided and figured out in detail what it is you're really here for and what you want to accomplish with us, what's cool about that is now we, again, with clarity, can figure out exactly how to get there. And if we don't execute that plan, who's that on? It's on, right, Jeff? It's on the community director, right? It's on you. Now we're there to support and encourage and make sure we help build that out for you. But we'll have honest conversations with you along the way if we see, listen, this is what you said you wanted to do. It wasn't my thing. This is what you said you wanted to do. This is what you're doing. Do you see a disconnect here? Do you think we need to find a way to connect the dots and get back on track and be able to encourage you to do just that? To me, that's what a coach should do. That's what honest expectations and honesty is all about. So a couple things real quick, and then we'll transition out of these topics. Number one here, I want to talk a little bit about what we should expect from you as well. So I just talked a little bit about what you can expect from us. Let me just hit on a couple of points of what we expect from you. You can jot these down if you want to. We expect you to be responsible, And obviously reliable. I should just go without saying probably in any business venture that you're a part of, I would think, but being responsible and reliable should be expected. I also, I mentioned earlier the idea that we're going to be involved a lot during training. I'm going to expect you to be involved a lot during this course of these 3 days. Now, earlier you guys were doing a great job getting to know your partner, learning some information about them. You know, that created a buzz in the room, which I think sounded great. It felt great. And so we're going to do a lot of that over the next couple of days. Making sure that that involvement stays high and that you are then learning. Because that's the easiest way to learn, is by doing something. So let me ask you a couple of questions to kind of do our first test here. In your opinion, what do you guys think are some of the qualities and or characteristics that would cause somebody to succeed in pretty much any situation? And just, when you raise your hand, say your name for me as well so I can learn some names quickly. Yes?
Hi, Diane Lynch.
Diane?
Tenacity in this case.
I love it. Someone who's tenacious. Tenacity, Diane said. What else you got? Yeah. Persistence? Consistency. Consistency. Thomas, right?
Good work ethic.
Someone who's consistent. Who else we got? Yes.
Work ethic.
Work ethic. It's Tony?
Yeah.
Work ethic. I like it. Some of these we already touched on. What else we got?
Goals.
Scott, right?
Goals, yes.
Goals? Meaning that they're probably a good idea to have some. I would agree. Yes. Jeff?
Jeff Gabriel, curious.
Somebody who's what?
Curious.
Curious. What do you mean by that?
Curious to get to know Derek, get to know your client, get to know your territory.
Cool. Okay. So wanting to learn, you know, learning from your peers, learning from the people who are running training. Sherry?
Coachable.
I like it. No matter what somebody's background is, I know you guys can't read all my writing, but that's okay. Coachable is what we just said by Sherry. No matter what your background is, I think when you're starting a new venture, if you go in with the mindset that you already quote unquote know it all, right, or I've been there, done that, that's a dangerous path, right? That's the wrong way to start any new venture, because you just shut down a lot of opportunity for growth. So one of the things we highly encourage here is a growth mindset, and it truly is a mindset. I don't care what your success ratios are in the past, you always should be, in my opinion, in the mindset that there's always more to learn and there's more to grow. What else you got? A couple more. Yeah.
Driven.
Say again?
Driven.
Driven. First name again?
Diane.
Diane, thank you. Diane says being driven. The back?
Moral and adaptable.
Merle says being adaptable. I like it. What do you mean by that, Merle?
Well, the same way how we have different personalities here, you might have different personalities in the field in terms of people who you're encountering. And so, certain times, certain salespeople might more tend to go towards a culture that they're familiar with. When, if you're adaptable, you might be able to broaden your client base by going into other areas that require more need and have more demand, and you just don't know it.
Yeah, sometimes in sales they teach the concept of match and mirroring.
Correct.
Mirroring, right? We'll talk about that more during training. That's one example.
And I was thinking more so from the aspect of industry clustering, because a lot of people don't think about that either, that there's a lot of partnering, but you mentioned that in a different way on your website, in terms of, this business might know that business, and so there's a pairing that can be had by one supporting the other.
That's where referrals come into play too, right? But think about it this, how many businesses nowadays have a website?
Hopefully all.
I would think a pretty high majority, right? So our market is pretty big. Does that make sense?
Yep.
How many of those businesses actually know the power of video on that website?
Exactly.
That's probably fairly small. So there is an element of education that you're going to see as you go through this with somebody to kind of just literally educate them on why video is so powerful. And it's not because we're telling them that, it's because Google says that.
Correct. Right.
And that's kind of important nowadays, all right? They're kind of big in the industry. So the reality is that we've got to, make sure that we play where everyone's looking. And video content is big in terms of making sure that they have relevant content, it stays high, and that their website is going to be viewed in a very positive light. Okay? That's only one aspect of what we're going to be discussing as far as the products and services. Anything else? Key qualities, yes?
I was thinking smile, but more so just having a positive outlook or mindset.
Yeah, I love it. Having a positive attitude. I think that's huge. Critical.
Empathy.
First name again?
Rochelle.
Rochelle, that's right, Rochelle, just like New Rochelle, right? But Rochelle, got it. Yes. Bob, Rob?
Rob's fine.
Yes.
Willingness to do what it takes.
The willingness to do what it takes. One of the things I'm going to adapt that to too is the willingness to help other people. We're going to do a lot of role playing during the course of these couple of days together, and some of you again are going to feel like I got this, I got this, I got this. Some of you are going to feel really, really awkward the first time you do it. In fact, you're going to be so awkward you'll be like, no, I don't want to do that again. Okay? Is it better to be awkward here or out there?
Here.
The goal is to practice as much as possible here so that you're not a complete fish out of water out there. Now with that being said, we don't have weeks to spend together right here, so you're always going to feel awkward for those first at least 20 to 30 appointments. That's fine. You should embrace that. That's where growth comes in. The goal is to get you out there and complete 20 to 30 appointments quickly, like in your first week or two, so that awkwardness starts to subside fast. Don't drag that out for 2 months. Right? Get those 20 to 30 appointments under your belt fast so that we can move forward and with where the real skill set is going to come into play. Okay? Anything else? Any other last ones? Yes, Jordan.
Jordan, and flexible, the flexibility to balance the different aspects of your life, get the job done.
I like it. Being flexible. So let's just touch on a couple of these real quick. Do you have one more?
Yeah, sense of humor.
Okay. I think that's cool too. Sense of humor is a great way to connect with people, isn't it? And that's one of the things we'll discuss later is the importance of just having the ability to connect with somebody in those first, 5 to 10 seconds.
I
Sorry?
think we missed a big one.
What's that?
Good listener.
Being a good listener,
That's huge.
That's the secret weapon.
especially in sales, right? That's why God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Exactly.
Touching on a couple of these real quick. Number one, I think it was Rochelle that mentioned positive attitude. And I would encourage you to just get into the habit of leaving your problems at the door when you come into the office here. Because, to be honest, your partner really doesn't want to hear about it. All right? They're not here to be able to hear you complain about how you had a bad morning and your, bad hair day, whatever the situation is, okay? This went wrong in my personal life. They really aren't here for that. They're here to try to get their own business in order and get that mindset right. So don't be that person who drags the partner down because you have issues that you want to discuss. Okay? If you have something personal that's really a problem, feel free to talk to me about it one-on-one, or Paul, or Mike, or Bob, or whoever, or Frank. Do it individually. Don't drag your partner, the person sitting next to you, or anyone else in the training into that as well. I think that's just one of the standards that we have in general is positive attitude. And you did hear Mike mention earlier that we do view training as a continuation of the initial interviewing process. And so, obviously, the goal is not to have you come all the way to Rochester so that we can kick you out of training. All right? That's not the intent. It's not why I'm here. It's not why any of us are here. But I'd be lying to say that we haven't done that before. And that we haven't asked people to leave because, for whatever reason, the person we loved in the interview and asked them to come here was not the same person that showed up here. And for some reason, over the course of 3 days, we were kind of shocked about how there was just a different vibe altogether about how they handled themselves. And I hope that you'll find that I'm not going to change if I had any element of your interviewing process. I'm not going to change from who you talk to. Mike's not going to change from who you talk to. We're going to be consistent throughout, and I expect the same thing from you. And I would hope that your partners would as well. Okay? So that's one element of what I think we do expect from you as well. Earlier we mentioned being committed, I thought. Was that one from up here? Work ethic. So I want you to write down the word committed, or commitment. Because I think you really can't grow in this business. You can't grow in this business, and feel free to grab the water if you need to. Good. There's right down the hall there's some actually. You really can't get to where you want to get in this business if you don't have a commitment to your own goals. And I mentioned earlier the idea that we are going to revolve everything around your individual goals and the individual community director's plan. And I think culturally that's one of the cool things about Snap Nation is that we're not like a lot of corporate America where everything's mandated from the top down. And, you have to do this and rally around it and hit the objectives, or else, this isn't for you. Here, the system is almost the inverse of that. It's the individual community director has their business, they have goals, they have intentions, and the leadership team is a support staff to be able to accomplish all those things, with you to help build it. And that's where I think the commitment comes in. But I want you to think about this and maybe jot this down. You should be thinking, what are my short-term goals here coming out of training. Meaning, how many appointments am I going to commit to in my first week in the field? So I leave training on Thursday. You guys are going to learn that on Friday, there's going to be a big phone day and a walk-in day for many of you. It's all about activity this Friday. And we actually have a conference call that we'll do as a quick group, short call, just to kind of give you some last-minute tips and give you, some focus areas. Some of you actually will set up your first community organizations Thursday morning, right here in this training. Paul's going to be showing you how to do that. So by the time you literally leave on Thursday, you'll already have appointments lined up on the schedule. With majority of them will probably be community organizations. Many of you should already have a list of some of those things that were sent to you or that you've looked at already. And then obviously you'll learn more about this tomorrow, but Monday is a huge phone day in our business. Most people who execute the schedule the right way will wake up at 8 or 9 a.m., will wake up whenever they want, but usually they're at work by 8 or 9 a.m., and they might make calls from 8 or 9 to say 12, 12:30. We actually have a brief conference call in the morning for you guys on Monday mornings to give you some insight. And then the day is open for you to prospect. If you adopted and embraced a schedule like this, where you were in the field conducting appointments Tuesday through Friday, okay, and the goal for you was to line up between 15 to 20 appointments a week in your schedule, which to me is not even like, that's not even working like crazy full time.
Silver, we're back.
Silver, we're back. So that's $650 that she made. Just had somebody call in a sale, $650 while you guys were listening to me for the last half hour. Okay, so let's get you guys out there on Thursday and start to do something for you as well. But my point was that if you adopt this schedule, Tuesday through Friday is where you really are going to be making your money, sitting down in front of business owners, conducting appointments, collecting referrals, filling up your openings in your schedule, utilizing Monday as a big phone/walk-in day to prospect and fill in your openings for the week. And then there will be some more time allocated for that late week, Thursday, Friday. You will work a consistent routine that will bring you the type of income that will be minimum 70, 80 grand in your first year, and for some of you will be over a six-figure income in year one with that schedule, with potentially an 80, 90% renewal kicking in for year two. So the key is to get into a routine fast, and that we'll talk more about that tomorrow. We mentioned the idea up here of being coachable, consistent. I want you to write down the idea of being confident, because nowadays, like Mike mentioned earlier, with a product like this, which is really going to be, I believe, mobile technology is hot right now, right? This is where eyeballs are. Obviously, a lot of businesses are trying to allocate resources into the importance of mobile technology, because that's just where people are going. I mean, we wouldn't be partnering with a behemoth like Google if there wasn't value in what we're bringing to the marketplace. Okay? So you should have confidence in just knowing that your product line really is one that is just key right now and huge. I mean, how many of you have actually seen, we're going to talk about this in a few minutes, but how many of you have seen the power of that Snapcast video recorder? I've actually seen it so far. So just about a handful of you. Okay? So you're going to see in just a few minutes how accessible that is, how easy it is, to literally have video content uploaded to a website within like 30 seconds. Which instead of having to go through, how many of you have actually owned a business? How many of you had a website? Okay. Have you ever tried to put video content on your website?
Mm-hmm.
You have. Is it easy to do?
Yeah, no, it is. It
Through
wasn't like that
YouTube?
when I had like
Yeah,
this. We're talking like 2004. So,
Right. So there was coders involved, and you had to send an embedding link, and it's usually, even today, to be honest, it's not an instantaneous process, right? When you try to create video content on your site. I'm not necessarily talking about Facebook and social media, because that's not their personal website, right? Those are social media channels that will play a role in what we'll discuss. But their personal website is their store. You guys agree with that? Their their website is the thing that we're really trying to enhance and help them out with. And the ability, literally the touch of a button, to have video content on that website is huge nowadays. And it's truly a wow factor when you're sitting in front of a client and you can show them how easy it really is. You guys literally by the end of the day, maybe not today, we'll probably touch on it today, but by tomorrow for sure, you guys will literally with your partner next to you, press with your own phones, press a button and show them through a video how to have it uploaded on the website. And you guys will figure out how to do it while you sit here. So that when you leave here on Thursday, you're going to be able to literally walk into any random business. I just bought some breakfast sandwiches down the road just this morning. And like literally any business that you walk into, if you spark up a conversation, you can show them within 30 seconds the value of what you do. It's that easy. And the person who's out there doing that the most, who's just out there in front of people the most, and you're going to screw stuff up, you're going to forget half the presentation, eventually you'll work all that stuff in, but if you can just open your phones and press a button, you're going to get some success. Okay? And have some value, and have some confidence, I should say, in understanding why this sells and how it works. Last one I'm going to touch on real quick, and then I'll talk about 2 brief objectives, is to be persistent. We heard that a couple different times. Being determined, being persistent, being resilient. Guys, when you're in a direct sales role in its purest form, which is what this is, adversity and being resilient is in the DNA of a role like this. And I hope you go into it with your eyes wide open to that fact. So that when you do get rejected on Friday, you might make your first phone call or do your first walk-in on Friday and the person's like, I'm busy, I don't have time for you right now. So how do you react to that? Does that ruin your day? Does it ruin the phone call? I mean, the reality is that this is all part of the numbers game. My mentality is we move on, right? We move on. It's just embracing the idea that being resilient, and this isn't just this business, it's truly any business that involves a sales component. You control, though, how you react. And that's something that is empowering, if you think about it. Because nobody's ever going to take your business away from you. No one's ever going to say you're not allowed to make phone calls anymore. You're not allowed to do walk-ins anymore to local businesses. So if you want to generate more income, if you want to generate revenue, if you want to build a true future, an exciting future for your family, it's in your hands. You control that. That's the power, by literally developing the mindset of being resilient, what that allows you to do. So if you go out there, I mentioned earlier having a short-term goal for this week, right? So if you go out there and maybe you jotted down, I want to do 15 appointments in my first week in the field. And you go out what would that be? Next Friday, right? So you go out, you finish your training on Thursday, start making your first calls Thursday morning, Friday as well. You do your walk-ins. Monday is a big activity day of phone calls and walk-ins. You line up 15 to 20 appointments Tuesday through Friday of next week. You fill out your first sales report next Friday afternoon. You're sitting at home, it's 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, your first official week with Snap Nation is now over, and you're sitting at home, and you're looking at your calendar and your schedule, and you're thinking to yourself, what the hell did I do? Okay? My goal here on the paper was 15 appointments, and I did 2. How do you respond to that situation? What are you telling yourself? Does the program now not work? All of a sudden?
No, you just keep going.
Of course, the answer, we all know the answer, right? What really matters, though, is how you truly respond in that moment. And now hopefully none of you are going to sit at that moment. You won't have done 2 appointments in your first week in the field. But here's the reality. Your business here is not going to be made or broke in your first week in the field. You might go out there and do 15 appointments and sell nothing. That's not going to feel good either. Okay? But will you do 15 more the next week? And consistently make sure that you're working the routine, the schedule that we know leads to success in this business. That's where being resilient comes in. I'm just going to challenge you to not accept mediocrity. Believe that there truly are no caps. We're not capping your income here. So you can build as big of a business as you want. You don't have to ask me for overtime hours. You don't have to ask me for a raise. Just go out and create your own raise. Do more work. Build the business wherever you want. Get better at your skill set. Get better at your role. Learn your presentation. If you want to make more money, if someone asks you, let me hear your intro, and you stumble like a fool, that's a sign that you really don't want to make more money. Because you don't even know your stuff yet. We're going to give you all the tools needed to make the income and to build the business that you want to build here, but I hope that you would embrace the reality that it is going to be up to you. And here's the last thing I'll say about that. In my experience over the years, it's the people who think about work a lot that don't get the most done. Okay? You got to stop thinking and you got to start doing. It's a big difference. Big, big difference. The worst thing about thinking, by the way, is that's where guilt starts to set in. Because you know you should be doing something, but you're not, And so all you think about is the guilt that you're not doing something. So that's the worst place you can ever be, because it stops you from being able to, in the mode, here's what I also see. The person who goes out and does 15, 20, 30 appointments in their first week doesn't have time to think.
Right.
They're just doing stuff. They're working. It's all activity for them. They might think when the week's over and they can literally take a debrief when they fill out their appointment schedule and they're like, oh wow, I did 25 appointments. This isn't where I, this didn't go well. We're making adjustments here. But they weren't thinking all week during work hours about making calls or doing appointments, because they were just activity driven. And I hope you're getting the message that this business will always be about activity, guys. That's never going to change. Now, that doesn't mean you won't work on your skill set and your craft, because you will, but it will always be about activity. All right, 2 main quick objectives real quick, and then I'm going to introduce you to a couple more people. Number 1, financial success is one of our objectives for you of being here. Now, the compensation plan that you guys have is pretty straightforward. Would you guys agree with that?
Yes.
It's pretty self-explanatory. Like I mentioned earlier, there's no caps to your income, so you can build what you want to build. You can go out there and with a 50% commission cut on whatever package you sell, on the first $500, and then you make 20% remaining balances on the existing balance, plus you get the 20% on renewals, which will be like a year later. And what's cool is once you get past that first year, if you think about it, you're going to have renewals up every month. Does that make sense? So you're really starting to see, increases of income literally from the account management program, which, to be honest, you guys don't have much to do with. Even though you are the face of Snap Nation in that community, and you're going to have relationships with those people. Our account team, Tom, who you're going to meet tomorrow, is a rock star. And what they do for you is awesome. And so the reality is that you're going to lean on a lot of that as you start building this business the right way. But with our packages, which you'll learn more about tomorrow, ranging anywhere from like $1,100 on the really cheap way to get in, it's just very entry level. I don't know if you guys we'll talk more about this tomorrow, but those of you who have run businesses probably can understand what business owners spend money on, typically. The idea of $1,100 to enhance their whole website online presence is a drop in the bucket for a lot of business owners. I mean, they're spending that on a Facebook ad campaign like that. They're paying more than that on monthly rent, right? They're spending a lot, there's a lot of things, a laundry list of things that they're spending more than $1,100 on. They probably spend, depending on the size of their business, they're spending it on like toilet paper in their offices, okay? Starbucks nowadays. So we have extremely entry-level points for you guys to all see money right away, even on the smallest packages. And then we have packages that will range up to $12,000 or even more. I mean, there's customized deals that Frank and Paul and I will help you guys with. Where, I mean, we can do anything that they need. We build out entire websites, we charge for that. There's all different types of stuff we can do. Okay, but the 5 main packages we're going to be teaching you will run from $1,100 up to $12,000. So if you think about it, at a bare minimum, one package, $1,100, you make $370 on that. So on one sale, half an hour, $370, boom. Not a ton of money, but for 30 minutes, it's not bad. Okay?
Not bad.
Up to 12 grand, right? Up to 12 grand. I mean, I think it was, am I wrong? Was it Greg that sold the $12,000 package?
9 altogether. It was 9.
9.
9 grand. Okay, so he sold it. It was a bigger package that we gave some discounts and stuff with. So the point is that on our bigger packages, you're like Mike said earlier, you can make $2,500. I think it's close to $3,000, and we'll go over the specific again tomorrow in 30 minutes. And that type of a mindset. Now, of course, that comes through referral generation and all the things we're going to be teaching you. But I can teach you the business one of 2 different ways. I can try to teach you how to make the minimum income, or I can try to teach you how to make the maximum income. What would you rather learn? Okay. Just as a show of hands, how many of you want to make good money here? All right, cool. Couple feet up in the back. That's good. I do want you to understand, though, that the job is not a get-rich-quick scheme. Okay? You won't make any money here if you don't work. You're not going to sit around at home and just send out some emails and make cash here. That's not going to happen. The only way you're going to make money is if you adopt the routine and the schedule I already talked about, where you go out aggressively and you want to get 12 to 15 appointments under your belt in week 1. And you learn what that feels like. Because once you've adopted what it feels like, you can do it again. And once you adopted, that's how I do business, that's how you start to become a rock star here. Because that's just the way you normally do your routine. It'd be like if you worked in any company for 20 years, you just were expected to work from 8 to 5 or whatever your hours were. It wouldn't even feel necessarily awkward for you to wake up at 6 and get to work by 8, because that's what you've done for 20 years. Here, you don't have somebody watching over your back saying you have to be at work by 8 a.m. But you need to be disciplined enough to act that way regardless, because you'll make a lot more money, you'll build a much brighter future if you do. Okay? You won't have to be reporting to anybody else to make that happen for you. You know, I want you to realize the fact is that we are in this together. I know Mike said this a little bit earlier on, but you know, the reality is that I'm paid, the majority of the people in our division, in our leadership team are paid based on how well you do. So how well do you think we want you to do? Yeah, I mean, if there are no sales generated from anybody we ever work with, I'm not making anything. Okay, there's no commission overrides coming in from anybody, so I don't think the goal is for any of us to waste our time teaching you how to not prepare yourself to be able to get orders and sign contracts here where you're new. The second objective, real quick, is growth and advancement within the business. So the first was financial success, and many of you sitting in this room, by the way, that's the main reason you're here, and I want you to know we're totally cool with that. There might be some of you here, though, who actually are thinking about potential advancement with Snap Nation, which when you're, you know, for all intents and purposes, a startup division within a parent company, there's a lot of opportunities for growth for people, the right people to step into. So we'll talk a lot more of the details about this later, but there is a role called a team leader role, which is basically a community director who coaches other community directors. Okay? And that's kind of the first step into potentially growth in this division, in this company. Is if you do the right things, you're working the right schedule, and you have some sales success, and we can just show that your attitude is right and that you genuinely care about others. If you ever get talked to about a team leader, you know, that's a good thing. That means we're starting to look at you as somebody who we really believe can help influence other people. And that can be just a coaching call with them. You know, you might be helping with field training down the road. There's different ways and opportunities for you to get involved in those different ways, you know, those different programs. Obviously, leadership is not open to any of you here today, but even technically by the end of this year, if you do really great things over these next couple of months, going into next year, 2018, and looking into like halfway through next year, there are opportunities and roles for you to be helping and coaching other people, if you would like that. Obviously, many of you, most of you, by the way, will never go into leadership with us, and that's completely fine. Most of you are not even here for that. You're here to build your own business, and that's fine too. But for those of you who truly get a passion out of helping others, which I was telling someone back there, what I love about what I do is I am passionate about building sales teams. I love it. I've been doing it since I was 17 years old and selling, you know, my own Cutco knives back then, you know, just randomly through appointments, learning how to become a key staff member, as they used to call it back then, where I would help other people on the team, and I opened up a couple of offices with them. And, long story short, my whole professional career has been about building sales teams. It's what I truly love to do. And I'm passionate about that. And so there are a couple of you I know who potentially fit that mold as well, that we'll talk more about down the road. Quickly, let me pass out for you what the agenda is for today. And then we will hear from, we'll take actually a stretch break real quick, and then we're going to hear from one of our founders.
Each package on day 1, 2, and 3.
Say it again?
Each package, day 1, day 2, day 3.
Oh, it is.
The groups.
Oh, that's cool. That's actually a lot smarter. So, you're going to get a packet coming around here. Can I get one, Paul? So this is basically our agenda here over the next 3 days. I'll just show you briefly different topics and what we'll be discussing. We're going to actually briefly review the presentation. So, let me show you something real quick. You guys are going to be getting a binder like this. Okay, you're going to be getting it a little later today. Now, with this binder, just to kind of show you how the ease of the flow of this. Now there's going to be a lot of detail in here. There will be some scripts in here for you to be able to read through. We're not going to necessarily say that you have to memorize everything word for word, right? So I don't think the goal is turning you into a robot. But there are some key parts that you really want to invest some time into, getting very, very comfortable, that I would even encourage that you do try to memorize a couple of key things, okay? But make sure it comes all authentic with your own words. Sometimes, by the way, a different side point, when I've talked about memorizing things before in various companies, some people have this mental block when it comes to memorization, as if it's some like evil. They're so afraid that if I memorize something, I'm gonna sound canned or I'm gonna sound fake. Have you ever heard of that before or felt that way before? It's okay if you have, by the way. I'm not gonna yell at you. Here's my thing. I agree, actually, that just memorizing something for the sake of memorizing something does come across fake. Does that make sense? But the goal of anything that we teach, that we would encourage you to try to memorize, is to learn it so well that it doesn't come across fake. It's the right words, but it's your words. And, you know, the fakeness comes just because you don't know it as well as you think you do. And when you can say something because it's just the DNA and you understand the scripts and you've really studied it and you feel good about it, and it is a work in progress, it's not going to happen overnight, but when you're at that point and it comes across genuine, as if it's your own words, now it doesn't feel like it's scripted anymore. It doesn't feel fake. And that's really the goal of where we want you guys to get. Okay? So, just to show you though real quick, we're going to start this in just a few minutes, but when we actually dive into the presentation, you're going to see that your online presentation, you guys will log into this to be able to hop on their computer. Most of our presentation is obviously all digital and online, so we're going to show you how to use the online sources. But you also will have your binder, you know, I'm actually a big believer in not bringing the binder with you on your appointments. I always think leaving it in your car, reading it in between appointments is really key to know what things you want to be able to implement for the next one. But when you walk into the appointment, the goal is to connect, not read out of the binder, okay? Connecting with the client, and then your online resources will be kind of like your bullet points and your thoughts that should jog the stuff that's scripted for you in here. Does that make sense? As we start to work together on how to mix the two. Now, when you start though, and you set the introduction, which is just a 2-minute thing that we'll talk about in a little bit, 2 to 3 minutes, just to set the foundation, kind of like painting a house, right? You got to put the primer up first. One of the things you're going to learn about business owners is that they all learn and they react in different ways. Okay? There are a lot of people out there that are very visual. Do you guys agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you'll say something, it'll go right over their head potentially, they won't even listen to it, but then you'll show them online the same thing and it'll connect. Right? There are other, and by the way, some of them, you know, those are some of the best clients we have. There are other people who are a little bit more audio focused, where like literally the words you're saying mean a lot more than anything you're showing them. Okay? Now, when you're talking about the company, we dive into this first slide, just a couple of brief bullet points. We're going to actually take them right through the CGI company website and show them how Snap Nation, all this stuff. But obviously, overall, as a macro point, what do you guys think we're going to talk about when we get to the company part?
Company, you mean Snap Nation?
Yeah, it's a trick question. The company, that's right. So, we're going to talk about the company. Not very hard, right? We got that part down. So, we're gonna hit on that. Then once we go into the company, part of the company, you're going to see, is kind of hitting on what we call authority relationships. We're going to show you how to do this through what's called the United States Conference of Mayors, which is one of our biggest and best partners. We're going to literally take people right to their website. How many of you saw that during your interview, right? Mike probably took you there, and it showed you how our Snap Map is literally linked right through the Conference of Mayors. I mean, that's a credibility point right there that we're going to lean on. And so the authority relationships, that's where we're going to show them that. We're going to take them right through Conference of Mayors, and we're going to be able to connect right from that to what? Right, you got it. Right from there to the Snap Map. So you'll see that your presentation kind of follows the flow of that, right? Because now you're right up to the Snap Map. We're going to show you in a few minutes how we're going to activate them. You're going to actually practice doing that right here over the course of training so you guys can get comfortable with that whole process of activating them. So we go on and we activate them through the Snap Map. After we activate them through the Snap Map, what do you think we talk about next? What's our core product line? The Snapcast. That's the video platform, right? See, the Snap Map, the elements of Snapcast are tied into that, right? Because it has the video component right in the map. But are people going to the Snap Map to look up their business? Of course not. So you're going to hear that the goal of that Snap Map is to paint the picture. You're painting the vision of what the community build out will look like. And by the way, there's some examples of that we'll talk more about, but this is actually a printed out, this is Rochester, right? Yeah. So this is like a 3D version of Rochester, New York. Okay? This is basically on the Snap Map. How many of you guys saw this before? Yeah. During the interview process, we probably took you right to that. And so you'll be able to have, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're going to have these printed, like the client would get this, right? Or no? Correct. The 3D version for the client, right? So, just as an example is my point. So you're going to be able to go through, show them the 3D rendering as the community gets built out. So the Snap Map is really, again, there for you to paint that picture of community build out. Why do you think that's important? Why will that help you?
Because I hope you don't want to jump on the bandwagon too.
For sure, people don't want to be left out of stuff, right? Also, what that might also lead to is what? More what? Referrals. If they're on board, if they know they're going to be on the Snap Map, I want my buddy Tony from the pizza shop is on there as well, right? I want my other business owners that I know to be on there as well. The quicker they can help you build out the Snap Map, the better the Snap Map looks.
Right.
Does that make sense? So now you have a vibrant, living 3D community right there online, just like all of these maps that you see all over the walls that are around you that we've been doing since the mid-'80s with CGI. It's literally taking that concept that Frank will talk about more later, but I think people used to spend like $400 or something to be able to advertise and be on the map, and they're going to be online now, you know, on the Snap Map. Look at that. Now, what's more important, you know, at the core though to that business owner, the Snap Map or what is on their website?
What's on their website?
Right. So we're going to show them with a simple transition how that's going to lead to this, which is the Snapcast. And we're going to literally show you how easy this is because you're going to be able to click at the bottom here. Thank you to Frank for making this happen.
Thanks, Frank.
You click on Snapcast here at the bottom, and boom, you'll be able to show them. I'll show you right now real quick. So, which one was it, Paul? Dennis?
The landscaper.
Landscaper. So these are just examples of industries and stuff. So you'll be able to show them by literally taking your phone out, texting this phone number for whatever example we wanted to use.
Go ahead, somebody do it. Somebody do it.
You can do it right now.
Text the number and just text yes to that number.
What's the number?
Yeah, Jeff. Just text yes to 585-682-2772.
Might want to go a little slower.
Yeah, just a little bit.
585-6, whatever it is. 682-2772. How many of you are doing it?
585-682-2772.
That's it. You should get a text back.
2771.
You should get a text right back.
We only need one person to do it.
Yeah, we don't need anything to do it. Who's good on the trigger with their text? You got it?
The link? Open up
Get the link.
Yep.
Click the link. That's
follow
how you
the
rotate your phone,
instructions.
right?
It's not calling it. You don't call it. You don't
Test
call
it.
it. Yeah, don't worry about it. We'll show you tomorrow.
Rotate your phone, do a brief video. My man Scott right here has something to say to you.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to Snap Nation, everybody. Alright, so
It's going to tell you to rotate your phone.
yeah.
No, not rotate all the way around, just left and right. You
Just
want
hold it like a video.
Horizontally.
You want to hold the phone horizontally.
Landscape.
Landscape.
Landscape mode.
Sideways.
There you go.
I see how mine look. Oh my God.
There you go.
There you go, my man.
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Scott, try it again.
Go ahead, Scott. Say something.
Fantastic. Say again? They're doing fantastic.
You gotta press record.
Rolling through the grade, good. I bet you see the cycle.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I gotta teach you guys how to use your phone. I gotta incorporate a new part of training here. How to take a video on your phone. I love it though. I love it. How you guys doing? Not too hot.
Sorry,
All
guys.
right.
We're good.
Yeah, exactly.
Hang on, we're shooting one at a time. It's loaded. All good. So it says thank you. And in about 2 to 3 minutes, the video that he takes goes right onto their website.
Nice.
So that
What you would do
that's
is
the power of the app.
what you would do is click on number 3 here. And this is just an example of the video gallery.
The most recent video that was just taken.
Oh, Jesus, me.
That is you.
Oh, Lord.
You're already up there?
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean,
See my face.
you just gotta scroll down now.
Yeah, scroll down.
There you go.
Anyway, the point is it's instantaneous.
Exactly.
All right, you guys get that.
That's it?
We'll
there
refine,
within 30
we'll
seconds.
refine everything else.
Famous, man. Famous on websites within 30 seconds. Okay. So we're going to talk more about that later. We're going to actually do it more later. We're all going to do it with our partner. We're going to practice it. So if you don't know how to take a video on your phone, by all means, practice outside, okay? Because that's going to be something you're going to want to do. All right. All right. So once we dive into that, then you're going to notice that we'll talk about the benefits of that and all that fun stuff. We will then also quickly hit on a little bit about Google. All right, I'm not going to talk a ton about this right now, but whenever you see something like the Google letter or the idea of the power of backlinking, these are just extra resources that we'll talk more about later to show you what to say about this stuff. But this is building up to our next step in the platform, in the product line. And what we're building value into is the idea of our what's called our snap line. You guys will get this tomorrow. It's literally a card. That same thing. You'll be texting this phone number to, and it allows you to instantaneously, just like the video component, instantaneously allow reviews up to clients' websites. I don't know if this is something we'll talk a lot about, but do you guys know the power of reviews nowadays online? Google obviously weighs this very heavily, in terms of their 3-star, 4-star, 5-star reviews. The amount, not only the star ratings, but the amount of positive reviews are really critical. Also, what to do when there's a negative review. Okay, it's critical. And so we'll talk about that concept. This is the second leg, I guess you could say, of our initial presentation, with the SnapMap being number 1 and our SnapCast being number 2 on their own website. Now we're also giving them more value, which is the Snap line, which really we'll talk about it tomorrow again, but there's going to be 2 different ways that we can utilize this. They can lean on our team to do a lot of this work for them, in terms of helping to reach out and be aggressively in getting reviews for them. That's one of our packages. We also have a thing where we can literally just give them the tool and they're going to have to do it all themselves. Totally different package, different price point, all that stuff. So it all boils down to whether they want to lean on our team or not. The average business owner out there, do you think they're going to allocate a lot of time to do it themselves? No. Probably not. It's always nicer to be able to lean on us. All right? Let's let the professionals do their job so I can focus on doing my job, which is going out there and selling widgets. Okay? That's what they're focused on. So that's the second aspect of it. And then the last part, as you will we'll talk more about again tomorrow, is what's called our survey avatar. And this is an opportunity to show them. Oops. Well, we didn't have the example side of it. My fault.
For which one?
Oh, my fault.
Yeah.
This is just an example of what an avatar looks like. We'll talk about it more tomorrow. But this is a way for us to be able to show them through real reports and educate them exactly on where leads are coming from in their business. Other than, if you, again, those of you who have ran a business might be familiar with Google Analytics. Have you heard of it before? It's just a program that most of the time people look at like it's a foreign language. Okay? A bunch of random numbers that they don't completely even know what to do with. And so we have a simplified, easy, and Tom's going to talk about this a lot tomorrow, about the power of reports and what that can do for them. Because again, depending on which package they have, we can provide a very detailed report that gives them a lot of information about their SEO and what we can do and how we can move that and how we can manipulate that and make sure we can enhance things for them. Or it can be more of like a dumbed down, simplified report, which is just literally like the sources that they advertise in and what touches they're getting from that. Okay? So it depends on which package that they go with. But my point here is that it's all laid out for you. It's laid out for you online. It's also laid out for you in the binder, flow by flow, with detail that we'll go over again tomorrow. I'm pretty confident that if I was to literally give you this with a 5-minute instructional and had you run out to the bagel shop next door, you might be able to get somebody excited about it. Does that make sense? We're not going to do that, okay? We're going to spend some quality time in the next 3 days practicing this, because I realize that for some of you in this room, you might be a little bit intimidated when it comes to technology. The idea of Google's like, oh boy, I gotta really talk about Google? I don't know that much about it, okay? We're gonna talk about how to make sure that in simple terms, you can communicate this effectively so that you leave with confidence. And the key again is when you leave here this week, is to do how many appointments in your first week?
20.
15 to 20. I do know that if you're not confident in what you're showing, you're not gonna do appointments. Because you're gonna be sitting at home thinking all week. About, oh, what do I say next? What do I say about Google again? That's the worst thing you can do. So the goal is to get out there and do appointments, which by the way, even if you don't know what to say, if you're just out there doing appointments, you're going to learn a lot faster than if you're sitting at home, studying over these notes. Okay? So the key is to get out there and make some things happen. All right, so today and tomorrow we'll be touching on the majority, all of that presentation. You're also going to hear from our founder in a few minutes, from one of our founders and our CEO here by the end of the day today. You're also tomorrow going to, we're going to dive into a full presentation tomorrow. So you will see from start to finish what a full presentation looks like. So you can, with pricing and the whole 9 yards, so you can literally hear what that's supposed to flow like. I would recommend that when Paul does that tomorrow, that you actually record his presentation. Just so that you can listen to it, on your own when you go home later tonight. I would recommend, or tomorrow, when you do that. We're also going to talk about pricing tomorrow, and like I already mentioned, I gave you some of the ranges already on prices. We will eat some lunch, which should be good. We're going to talk about the account team tomorrow and the power that they have for you. I already mentioned this earlier. We literally going to spend time tomorrow going over what a community organization is, which is generally a non-profit organization, but Paul's going to give you specifics on what that is and why we meet with community organizations. By the way, to be clear, community organizations can buy the products. Does that make sense? They can, of course. CAN. We just had Rebecca sell one yesterday, I think it was. A community organization. So the reality is we do the same presentation for everybody. Whether it's a community organization or just the local pizza shop or a for-profit business, everybody gets the same exact presentation. What's cool though, is that with community organizations, because if they're well connected in the community, they can be a huge asset to you. We will teach you how in your back pocket, you're going to be able to pull out a secret weapon of giving them our bronze package for free in exchange for referrals. And in exchange for getting even further connected in the community. So that's truly the biggest intent of meeting with the community organization, is the referrals that can be generated from that and the people that they know. But the reality, I don't want you going into any appointments never thinking that sales are an option. Does that make sense? Because you can get sales from anybody. The reality is that they're all going to see value in this stuff in certain ways. And then we'll talk tomorrow about how we actually set up those appointments, what we say. There will be some scripts in that as well, who we're going to be targeting. How many of you have your research package, like on your computer, or you have them with you somehow? I know not all of you do yet. You will hopefully get it. I would maybe by tomorrow. I know definitely by Thursday.
Send them out today and tomorrow.
Perfect. If you don't, hopefully you can get them tonight when you go home tonight. You do want to come in if you have a laptop. It would be nice for you to have that open tomorrow, because I would like you to have your research packet in front of you when we go through that section. We're going to spend some time literally identifying who the best prospects are that we're going to want to try to focus on in that first week in the field, starting next week. And then the last day, guys, it's kind of a lighter day, but we'll go over a lot of the administrative stuff, make sure you feel confident and secure with your agreements, your contracts, how to write up orders. You think that's a big thing? Yes. We'll obviously go over that. We'll go over all the different tools that you have called Google Drive and some of those other systems as well, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so before we take a break and then have our speaker come up, I want to quickly go around the room, and you don't have to spend 45 minutes sharing your story like I did and expectations and everything, but I just would like you to quickly share, 10 seconds, your name, where you're from, And I'd like you to hear, if you haven't thought about it already, what do you really want out of working with Snap Nation? What do you want out of being a community director? Okay? Just your name, where you're from, brief introduction, and why you're here. You know, what you want out of being a community director. Can we start with you, Zach? Yeah.
I'm Zach Collin. I'm from Lynchburg, Virginia, just a ways away.
By the way, if you do have a territory that was assigned to you, you can mention that as well.
Lynchburg, Virginia. And I want to get out of this an actual job. I haven't really had a full-time job that pays me all too well as this is promising, and I think this would be a great opportunity.
Nice to meet you, Zach.
My name is Scott Nicholson. I'm from Ringwood, New Jersey.
How about it?
Okay. Northern.
I was about to say, did something bad happen? It sounds like there's a history there for some reason.
And, you know, what spoke to me was, you know, I saw the ad, right, and people are looking on their phones, they're walking. I have a 19-year-old son, and all we do is yell at him about, you gotta look where you're walking. You're walking into people, you're walking into, you know, so, like, right away, a light bulb went on. I just see an opportunity not only to bring community together, but build a huge business as well.
Jordan?
Hi, I'm Jordan Rebeloff. I'm from Higgins Valley, Pennsylvania. There's not really much I can do with that, so I'm going to be working out of Lebanon, Pennsylvania. I just graduated out of college. I'm only 22, and I'm just really excited to dive right in and do as much as I can and just really see where this takes me and grow within the company.
Very cool. Where's your school?
UCF.
UCF.
In Orlando, yeah.
I'm Nick Burrows. I'm actually from Fort Mills, right by Cutco, actually, the convention.
Olean?
Yeah, I just graduated from the University of Buffalo, and it's just a bright future here. I see it.
Very cool. Thanks.
Eric Nagel, I'm from Collegeville, Pennsylvania. It's about 45 minutes outside of Philadelphia. And I came here because I want some residual income. I've been selling for 20 years and I'm out there every month busting my chops. I don't have a problem busting my butt, but I like the residual part of it.
Right.
Jeff Gabriel, 25 years as government affairs professional and a lawyer, and I took a look at this and saw what politicians did with Snapchat, and I see an absolute enormous upside to this thing in the right hands, and so I'm blessed to have gotten on the ground floor of this, and I'm really excited to be here.
Tom Kelly, Long Island, New York. Spent my early years working for a company called DoubleQuick, which is in the ad space. Also sold for print publications at Nielsen Business Media. Also worked for AOL. So I'm very interested in the mobile aspect of it. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you.
I'm Tony Bonavia. I've been in the food service business for 32 years, and I was to sell coffee. I'm from Stony Point, New York. If you know where that is, by Bear Mountain. And what I want to get out of this opportunity is the idea to help people, both financially, impact them in life lessons along the way, and also make a good living at that same time. I'm used to training people in what I've done before, and I always try to give life lessons along the way, and it actually works out really well. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you.
Yeah. Hi everyone, I'm Diane Melendez. I'm from Long Island, New York. And I come from real estate and also the solar industry. And I just know that working in those areas, this opportunity is a gold mine. And I'm looking to also make residual income, and hopefully I have 2 daughters who are in their 20s, maybe make a family business out of it if I do well.
That's great.
Yes.
Very cool. Real estate agents, you love this.
When I do well, exactly. That's right. We have to be positive. When I do well.
Hi, my name is Nancy Levine, and I'm from Highland Mills, New York. Originally, New Jersey, exit 117A. And my background is in nonprofit and theater, so it's a weird combo, but it served me well. And so I know how to approach nonprofits. I think that should be fun and exciting to get back into that. And this is my first real straight sales job, unless if you count nonprofit as sales.
It's a little different.
Yeah. So I'm very excited. That's it.
My name's Sherry Sheffield. I'll be working in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I've lived all over the country, and I've traveled all over the place. I'm here for this opportunity, as almost everyone that has had a chance to speak before me has said. I value freedom, I value family, and I know if I have money, I can do a lot with both of those areas. So that's why I'm here. And nice to meet everyone.
Nice to meet you.
So hi everyone, my name is Diane Lynch. My friends actually call me Dee, so feel free. And I am originally from New Jersey as well, exit 100B. And then I lived in Chicago for 22 years, and recently, 3 years ago, moved to a teeny tiny town in upstate New York called Westville. And my background is mostly in business development. I have some management experience. And I just think that Snap Nation is an amazing product. I want to make a lot of money and help people. So that's why I'm here. Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you. Hi, everybody. I'm Rochelle Higgins. I am a millennial and proud of it. And I came across Snap Nation and I was like, what? Someone is doing this idea? Like, I thought I came up with this. But I realized that they were, you know, doing it before I was born. So I was like, well, I guess I'll join the bandwagon. And ever since 2010, since I read a lot of books, but Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Of course, I've been on the residual income hunt as well. So when I came across this, I was like, I can do this. So I'm here, and I'm glad. Oh, and I'm from Bentonville, North Carolina. I'm a military brat, and I'm currently in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Hi, my name is Lance Isaac. I'm from Portsmouth, Virginia.
11 years. Spotlight wants to stand up.
11 years being in the military, U.S. Coast Guard, federal law enforcement agent, and Coast Guard Special Forces. Got out in July because I injured my ankle, so they were like, no longer jump out of helicopters, so it's time to get out. So I've been trying to find a new career and checking this out. I was like, I think I can do it. So that's my goal, is a long-term career to finish up my 11-year retirement per se. Keep on going.
Great.
Tyler Kilpatrick, currently around Columbus, Ohio. I just saw a good opportunity in like the income opportunity of it, and so I was excited to be on the ground floor with something and be a part of the startup, and have some sort of that type of thing.
How's everybody doing so far?
Awesome.
My name is Rob Blackwell. I'm from around Schuylkill Haven, Pottsville area. Actually, I had to drive through Higgins on the way here. Yeah, so great, beautiful area. I love it there. My territory is Wyomissing and Reading. And as for why I'm here, I'm really I'm excited to finally have an opportunity that feels like it's big enough to satisfy my
Something tells me you got a big appetite too, buddy. He's taking a bite out of this. For sure, I love it. Start to go with you.
Hey guys, I'm David Romero. I'm 24 years old, from Reading, PA, and territory mostly in the Reading area. I saw the potential in this company, so I wanted to dive right into it. I love building relationships with potential clients and seeing where I can advance from there, and hopefully everything goes well from there. So thank you for hearing me out.
Cool, David.
Hello everyone, my name is Tim Charette. I'm from Ilion, New York. Don't worry if you've never heard of it. I literally saw more people driving in to Rochester than live in my town. So I found Snap Nation trying to find something else to do because I currently work for the Department of Mental Health. Anyone who knows anything about that knows that as soon as you get in, you want to get right on out. So I'm looking for something else to do. I stumbled across this place and I thought to myself, well, I was always told growing up I should be in advertising. There's a story that my mom loves to tell that I tried to buy a piece of land when I was 11 years old. To be fair, it was right next door to a Walmart that just opened. So there's currently an Applebee's there that's doing very well. So I think I covered everything.
Nice to meet you.
Me too.
Like my friend over here, I prefer to stand. So good afternoon to everyone. My name is Merle Fenton, and I'm actually coming from the U.S. Virgin Islands. I think Mike had mentioned it to a couple of the staff here. And so I'm here as a result of the 2 Category 5 hurricanes that devastated our territory. So came to live in Virginia, and of course, you know, with the relocation, I'm starting all over again. But I'm coming from, you know, a small community, and within a small community, it means that you get a wealth of experience when it comes to the job market. It's not targeted like how it is in the States. And so I was trying to find an opportunity that would, you know, maximize those diverse skills first of all, but more so build community. I mean, you guys had me at hello when you said that the priority is building community, because I'm coming from a small community, so I have that that affinity to meet people and improve upon whatever it is that they're doing. So right now I'm living in Virginia. Like I said, my territory is going to be Fairfax, Virginia, and so my goal here, of course, to make money, because I'm basically starting from scratch all over again. But more importantly, you know, just to get out there, meet people, help them to see the beauty and the benefit of this product, because I think it's awesome. I mean, sorry, I forgot all the names, but the gentleman in the front here, that was my winner. The video that showed the person totally in their phone. That's what I see every day. I ride public transportation and everybody's in their phone. And so I know the beauty of this product, and I actually came from a marketing, events, and logistics background, and I think this company can maximize all of that, including advertising sales that I have. So I'm just, again, hoping to show everybody the beauty that I found in Situation.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Creation. If you can't say that, you guys can call me Cree. I'm pretty sure I'm the youngest person in here. I'm actually only 20 years old.
I got to be a
I thought this was a wonderful opportunity, and like you guys, I want to make money also, and I think this is long term, and I'm just happy to be here.
Where are you from, Cree?
I'm actually from Buffalo, New York, and I'll be working in Cheektowaga.
Got it. Cool. All right, guys, ready to back?
The following tree, I'm at the opposite end of that age bracket, as you all can see. I'm Charles Montpierre, and I'm from Pennsylvania, at Salem, which is outside Philadelphia. And I'm really enamored of all this cyberspace stuff. I have people in my family that are just so into it. My daughter, my youngest daughter, is in charge of IT operations at the State University of Buffalo. And then I have some others. I have an adopted son that's so geeky, it's unbelievable. And so they pulled me into this over the last 20 years. And so I see this as really a good way to make money, which I need to do, because when I get old, I need to have a retirement. And so I'm looking for 6 figures a year at least. At least 6 figures a year. And I think this does 2 things. In my generation, we were taught to be productive and to be worthwhile, to do something for the world. And I think that, you know, not sounding so altruistic, but this really does something for people. You know, in the next few years, paper is going to be out of style. And so everything is going to be through your handheld, through IT and so on like that. I don't know if you noticed or not, but children are not even taught to write in school anymore. Not even cursive, they can't write. They can't do it, because all they do is, you know, hit their thing like I have here. I have 2 of these relevant. So consequently, you know, I have to roll the punch. And I really am enamored of everything you guys are doing. I think it's really, really cool.
Awesome. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
All right, wrap us up.
Hello. My name is Allison Faubert, exit 172 off the New Jersey Turnpike, which is the last exit. But also, how I came upon this is I'm moving to what I thought was the smallest town in the world, Fort Covington, New York. But unfortunately, Westville is smaller and right next door. So that's very interesting. And so I was looking for to change my career. My children both are in college now. I'm going to go live in the country, and but I need to keep working. And when I saw the same thing as when I saw the word community director, as a journalist in nonprofits, as a parent raising children, like knowing people in the community, putting them together was always a natural part of my everyday. So the fact that I could do that and make money doing it was really exciting.
Absolutely.
So you can see just from even the group that we have here, one of the things that we take a lot of pride with Snap Nation is also building a diverse team. You know, the reality is that different ages are in this room, different experiences are in this room, different races are in this room, different backgrounds are in this room. There's a lot of power in that, in my opinion, and what that can bring to the organization as a whole. You know, David, for example, is probably going to hopefully be able to reach in some ways and connect differently to different business owners than Lance is going to be able to do. Right? And I just know, you know, Sherry's experience and background is going to be different, what she's going to be able to bring, than what Tyler's going to be able to bring. And so being able to work together and being able to learn from each other, I think, is a key component of how you build a dynamic team. And that's one of the reasons why we have some of these tools that are in place to help us learn from each other and to be able to share ideas. So as you can see in the front of the room, our CEO is itching to say a few words. So Bob obviously is really the reason why this whole thing exists. Well, he's going to actually speak to you in more detail a little later on today. But the reality is that without him, without what he does, without his vision, there is no Snap Nation. So we are going to take a tour in just a few minutes. You're going to see some of the other elements of CGI and how that all comes together. But Bob wanted to share a few words before we get that. So,
5 minutes with you guys. Do you think I agree with most of you guys?
Of course.
No.
No.
I agree with hardly any of you guys. So that's how I wanted to start the conversation. How's that? For honesty. You want honesty or you want life?
Yes, no, please challenge us. Challenge us.
This group, in all honesty, the hardest part of success has nothing to do with what you like. The hardest part of success has everything to do with what you can bear. And why I disagree with a lot of what you said. I know it sounds crazy, but the CEOs and the founders of companies, I started this company, I was 24 years old. Frank was with me. Hank was with me. So yes, there are founders with me. But the reality is when you write a check for $200,000 in a year, when you've lost $1 million and no one is looking at that but you, no one is coming to you but me, and you're writing a check, if you think it's about success, you're a fool. It's about what you can bear. Does that make sense now?
Yes.
And then the next year comes along, and then you write another check for $200,000. And then people that were investors call you up and they want their money back. But you still keep doing it. Because you love what you're doing. And you know what you love? You love you. Does that have anything to do with money?
No.
So, I disagree with all of you. If that's what you think it's all about, money. It's not about money, it's about you. And if you love you, then you can bear anything. Of course, everyone wants success. Persistence is the key to success. Nothing in the world can take the place of it. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than an unsuccessful person with talent. Intelligence will not. Intellectual dereliction is a commonplace. We know these things, right? But the soul of the human will is the difference. Does this make sense?
Perfect sense.
That's what drives people. I'm in a CEO roundtable group with other guys. And I am telling you right now, every single one of these guys that sells their companies, a year later, do you think they're excited about it or they regret it?
They regret it.
Some are okay, but most regret it. You know why? The life of that person as the you in that position is what they fell in love with. The TMJ that I have from the stress. And that's what you're looking at for you. Because if you can take that, Tyler, if you can take that, I listened to you, you were awesome, Scott. I said, that guy's awesome. Isn't that nice? Is this the guy?
Absolutely.
You were awesome. You were awesome. And you're a natural salesperson, which means you added color to your commentary, you added your personal human element to it. This is what becomes the aha moment to people, not nonsense words, not cliches. Because what we were talking about for an hour is what? How many people talk about that, Tyler? How many people bring this nonsense up?
Well,
every class you go to, they have it. Go to Amway. It's an Amway thing. Nothing against it. And I'm totally in agreement, too, with one exception. If you believe that over what I'm talking about, I'm going to win, you're going to lose. And sense. It's not going to keep you continuing. The person that continues wins, typically, right there? Is that who wins?
Sounds logical.
Success is logical. Success is completely 100% subjective, right? I don't even know if I'm successful. I'm 54 years old. I'm turning 55. I think I'm insane. And you know what? A lot of people would agree with me. But I'm bearing my soul to you right now, and I know the person that bears their soul and tells the truth, not the nonsense, not the garbage, not the crap, typically wins. They typically win. I come from a family, my father was a factory worker, drop out of high school, and a Korean War hero. Give me that guy over any cowardly CEO billionaire. I'll take him any day. It's my dad. I love him. That's my DNA. My mom, valedictorian. Wannabe college person. Fell in love with the most handsome guy in Connecticut and didn't go. Right? That's what she used to say. So at the end of the day, there is no mystery to success because you'll decide if you have it or not. No one else can. But if you want to be great at this, and I mean this with no BS, yeah, you need everything I talked about, times 5. Times 5. And it's in there. It's never going to be external. You don't, Sherry, you don't really care if you're the only person here, do you, that makes it? As long as it's you, right? Does that make sense? Does that make sense, Tyler? I graduated from high school in 1980. I was a young graduate. I wish I had another year. Right? Didn't know at the time, you know, you just shove you out at 17 or in college at 17. Probably, you guys probably remember now, everyone goes to 19 years old, you know, because the father's trying to get an advantage for his kids, right? Well, we had, do you remember Captain Kangaroo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
His name was Bob Mulvihill, or Mulvihill, whatever his name was Bob. And anyway, he had this phenomenal speech that today rivets with me. Today, it still sticks with me, and I think it applies to this class. And the speech went like, we had 69 kids in our class, and we all know the joke about the 69, hey, we had 69 kids in our class, kind of joke, right? Well, anyway, Bob comes up, he's Captain Kangaroo, he comes in, everyone goes, we got Captain Kangaroo here, and he goes to the 68 graduating seniors of the 1980 class and their parents, and we're all thinking what a moron because they're 69. I'm not talking to you. You don't exist here. I'm ignoring you guys. I'm talking to the one kid that knows who he is. I'm talking to you. Best opening of any speech I've ever heard in my life. Because how many people, Lance, thought it was them that they were talking to? Everyone. Yeah, it's me. And he's saying, oh, I'm going to tell you about your life. And he just starts hammering it home. He starts hammering it home. I'm going to tell you how good of a life you're going to have. He goes, success? Huh, it's going to be everywhere. You're going to wear the best clothes. You're going to have the finest cars. You're going to have everything and anything that you want. Everyone was looking. And Zach, do you think that they were all thinking it was them? Everyone's doing this. And guess who else was? Me. But I knew it was me. I knew it was me. Didn't think it was me, knew it was me. In my bones, me. I wasn't a good student, 70.1 average in high school. But I just knew it was me because when I hyper-focus on something, I'm goofy. And I'm goofy good. I'm either goofy good at something or I don't do it. And I knew it was me. Well, everyone else thought it was him. At the end of the thing, we all said, what a great speech. We're all coming down from this speech. Everyone's having a great time. And then he goes like this. He goes, everyone's all riveted. It's only like 12, 13, 14 minutes long. And he goes, how many of you people, and he brought everyone else in, like the speech, applause, crazy. He goes, you know what? I can't take credit for this speech. I can't take credit for it. You see, this speech was given to me 35 years ago. And I thought I was that you. So here's the challenge. If it's you, you're gonna be asked to do a speech. You do this speech. Because it is you. I did this speech 3 years ago to that same class, a different year. And it was me. And I know what the difference between what it is and what isn't the truth when it comes to success. It's about what? You. See you there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Real quick, we are going to do a tour of the building so that you guys have a true idea of the company that you are working with. Make it real simple. This side of the room, you're going to come with me. Grab you so to make it even. And then this side of the room, what do we do? This side of the room is going to go with him. So we're going to walk you through a couple different floors, and then we'll come back, use the bathroom, all that good stuff, and back. My side, we're going to hit the elevator.
We'll let them, it'll take a second. Nonsense, it's only going to help. You do the work. It's not going to happen. And it's going to be a bear. It's going to be rough. It'll be rough. And that goes for you guys as well. Alright? So here's the thing. How many of you guys have ever seen the show The Prophet?
Of course.
Right? Marcus Lemonis or whatever, right? So he talked about three things. Remember what he talks about all the time? There's three critical things in the business. People, product, and process. Right? So anyone looking at our products, and by the way, Snap Nation is the best of everything we've got. It's the best of eLocalink, our flagship division. It's the best of Nets and our SEO and rep management and marketing analytics. Takes the best of that. Has all this, the best of our mobile elements, right? Takes all those things into account and then has its own unique elements and its own unique spin. So absolutely, from a product standpoint, we hit it. We know the process works. We've been doing it for 30 years. Okay? So we're not reinventing the wheel with Nets. I'm sorry, with Snap. Next was the last one, 5 years ago. So we're not reinventing the wheel with Snap Nation. We sold this a year ago. We were out selling it. You'll meet Al Forey, our national sales trainer, our national sales manager. We've been selling it, and we've been selling elements of it in all our other divisions. So the process is there, so hopefully you'll trust the process. Yes, use your own personality. Yes, use the things that you know and believe, but understand if you follow the process, you're going to put yourself in a much stronger position to be successful. Now, the third thing is the people, right? Yeah, everybody agree the product is pretty awesome. That's why you're here, most of you, right? Wow, that's really cool. You thought of it, your idea. You get it, right? So the product is there, the process is there, the people. So clearly you guys are part of the people, that part of the equation. But the people in the company, we have one of the best designers and creative people in our company, Katie Marcy's working with. We have Amy Curran, who's a marketing rock star, who sits on the business council board at the U.S. Conference of Mayors, okay? She's working at Snap. Bob was part of the contingency that went to Cuba with the U.S. Conference. We're in tight with these organizations, which quite frankly mean nothing to you because you never heard of them, you don't know what they mean, but in our space, they're pretty important. They're pretty powerful things. So Amy Curran, Alton, and Greg Mead, you'll meet, right? Pat McCabe sent you your business list, right? All these people working on it. So Alton, as I said, and Greg, supporting you guys when you're in your communities, helping you out, helping you build your communities, right? We build communities, a lovely little tagline, right? What it really means is we go out and we connect people and we sell our stuff. That's what it really means. All right, and then the next thing you know, oh look, everyone's connected. You know, one of these maps, we $40,000 worth of advertising on this one map, and that was from 1996 or something. I don't know. Right? How many of you were, all of you were live in 96? Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
So, Don, Paul, Mike, who just walked in the room, they've done nothing but sell and build sales teams. So that people part of the product and process, these guys doing that, and I've done a startup with CGI. I was very involved with Next in 2010, 2011, and that division doubled the sales of the company and more, right? So it's, again, whatever you want to call that. This team is better than any team I've ever been on. Better than any team I've ever been on. And if you take those three guys, they've got problems. Hell, you throw Bob and I in the mix, that's 100 years of sales experience and selling and building. Yeah. Over 100 years, I hate to say it. They're about 45 probably, and Bob and I cover the rest. So that's what's going on here. All right. So when we start out, and why everything we've done, literally since day one, heck, even before that, going back to when Bob and I were selling directory advertising. Oh, where we go? Yeah. Let's go this way. Oh, there we go. Lovely. Directory advertising back in 1987 with the Better Business Bureau, selling directory advertising. We had authority partnerships. When we did our maps, one of the things we learned very quickly was if we gave the maps to the kids at the high school to sell as a fundraiser, we would be able to walk into a business owner and say, hi, we're working in partnership with the Booster Club or the band. And we got it, and one of the most challenging things for a business or for a salesperson is to get in front of a business owner, right? And to separate yourself from everybody else so you're not just another, what? Salesperson. So we had this nice community cause. So everything we did was built around community cause. And damn it, we did 100 of these maps a year. Wow. With 100 businesses on these maps, that's like 10,000 transactions. It's a lot for us. Yeah, again, there's whatever you want to call that. We knew that if we could gang businesses like this, and we would do all the points of interest and landmarks and public buildings, what we call our ComOrgs. Right? You can sell them, but you identify all those things, and you get referral, and you build a better story. Right? So that genesis was really something we carried through our entire company and never stopped. We started our Bear division sometime around 1997, and again, same kind of thing. We give the product away for free to the municipality. so that we get a letter of support and influence.
Free advertising.
That was our secret sauce, all right? No one ever knew what the hell we were doing. We were a $7 million banner division. We would go out and do decorative street banners, and we would sell a business sponsor on the bottom portion of the banner. Probably still one of the best products. Simplest product we ever sold ever. Still great. We still do a few just because. Yeah, just so we can say we still do it. We worked in over 500 cities. Apparently we did over 41,000 banners. I can remember back in the day when Hurricane Andrew maybe went through Florida, and I saw banners flying behind the weatherman who was doing his, I go, yeah, we're going to have a rough day tomorrow. But it's like watching the Weather Channel. Seeing some of our banners blowing down behind him. Cool. Anyway, Bob made a really good decision in 1999, 2000. He decided to put video on the internet. Yeah, in the days of dial-up, or even probably predate. I mean, we started working on putting video on the internet in 2000. That's a true story.
AOL.
AOL 3.0.
Sure. So it was absurd in those days. So why we had some of these little attempts with interstitial animated ads, because in those days when you pulled up a website, it would take minutes, what would seem like hours today, for it to load. And while it was loading, we just pushed a little animated ad across the screen. Bob's towing in a tow truck, go across the screen, a little banner. Because by the time that website, the chamber website or the city website loaded, by the time those things loaded, it would be so graphically, it would take a while. So we forced, and then the little ad would disappear. We were working with a company in Elgin, Illinois called Village Profile. They did chamber directories and chamber maps, and because we did a bunch of this stuff, we ran into them all the time. They were a really good company. We were going to buy them, they were going to buy us. Long story short, they handed us a CD-ROM with business sponsors on it. And we were like, oh, this is cool. They weren't really selling it, so they gave us the idea. We took that CD-ROM, which literally we had in a kiosk in communities where you could go in and it was hardwired with a computer and you got a touch screen, and again, it was like Back to the Future now, because it's, you know, the technology is a little archaic, but we literally would drive a kiosk all the way out to Illinois and load it into a city's main street, and those were all our early day attempts. And around, so while we're doing all this, and it's 2003, 2004, we figured out that again, if we could work with the city, and we had that city endorsement, we had a much better chance of getting to the business community. And conversely, we also recognize that if we could partner with different organizations like the U.S. Conference of Mayors, like the National League of Cities, and like the Illinois Municipal League, and all these other organizations, that our acquisitions would go up. Because just like when we call out a business and we have the mayor's blessing, we call up the mayor and we have the blessing of their trade association, in essence. We got in front of them. It was easier to do. So back in 2004, eLocalink, our flagship division, was $1.3 million in sales. Chris Sokol, Nicole Hunt, John Durfee, Brian Polinsky, both these people are vice presidents now, and they're all still working for us. That was the original team that we had. It was the original team. Our leadership team here, right or wrong, has not turned over. We have VPs and presidents that have been, I think, at least 10 years, like 12 years. Been here 30 years. Wow.
You said
I
you
was
had
4 years old when I started. 10 years old? Anyway, Chris Sokol, he sits down the hall, 1992. All right, Bob Forey's 1994. They were all right. It is Nicole Hunt, who started in 2002. All right, she was 22 years old. she's a rock star, you probably meet her, all right? Maybe. You probably will meet Brandon and Kevin. They were running our production department. Our production department was a mess at that time. So we had a startup that we were trying to build, right? We had our banner division and we had our map division funding the R&D for our eLocal Link internet division, right? We were a fledgling video division, which again, if you're talking, it was like we might as well have stepped out of a spaceship in 2004 trying to put video on the internet. Again, it played in a box this big, if it even loaded, much less play. All right, so it was a pretty heavy lift. A couple of things happened in 2005 that really started to launch TGI as a company. U.S. Conference of Mayors, as I mentioned, you'll hear that thrown around and we make it sound really big and it's really important. Well, it is if you're a mayor of any city in the United States, right? It is a lobbying organization, just so you know. It's a membership organization made up of the most influential cities in the country. Tom Cochran is the executive director. He's still there. This was the same picture. I don't think he's ever changed. Right? He looked old then and still alright? Still looks old. Great guy. Great organization. And again, after working with them for a year in 2005, they signed a 20-year contract with us. So we've been working and partnered with them ever since. So that was pretty cool. That happened in 2005. We moved into this building in 2005 with our old AT&T logo. That's a joke. We'll show you guys Trump history later. Donnie, you may want to add that to training, by the way.
What's that?
You guys Trump history.
Got it.
It's great.
It is great. Have you seen it?
I did.
So anyway, we moved into this building, and because we were out in the suburbs and we were in the institutional office park, and when we moved in downtown, Main Street looked nothing like this, but we were about building what? Right? So why not be in the heart of downtown? Right? We were in this building, a law firm, 200 employees plus, moved out of here. Our entire company was on the 8th floor. The entire company was on the building you just walked through with 9 floors. We were all on the 8th floor. We had about 45 people in the building, and then we had banner reps and poster reps all over the country. So people acted differently because they were walking off an elevator to go to work. They felt more important downtown. So that was a real big deal for us. Google called us up. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Shows up on your caller ID. Nice. Although Google wasn't quite what they are today, they were still pretty good in 05. Right? But they wanted all of our video content. We have more video content for businesses and cities than any other company in the world. That's a fact. Call me on it. Find another company with more. I'll give you $1,000. Easy 1,000 if you want it. You can find that company.
What is that again?
Find a company that has more video with businesses and communities than CGI.
Not possible.
Not possible.
Not
Go ahead. You get $1,000 if you do. So they recognized us as an early adapter for video. We gave them all of our video content. We made a decision to give it to them for free. It's crazy. We had more video content on Google than ESPN and NBC and Sony Pictures, that was Disney at that time. That was part of my marketing pitch. Pretty cool, right? Our videos started showing up for businesses above their own URL address for their website. We thought we had hit it out of the park. We're like, we're going to be, my goodness, website. Here's your website, now here's your video showing up. And then they changed. Google changed. And they made Google Video. And then Google Video became YouTube or whatever the hell it is today, right? And all that. But for a brief moment there, we were really on fire with sales because we had videos showing up at businesses' websites. But Google makes changes, and they're constantly changing. And while that was bad for then, it was good for Next, because if Google didn't change stuff, Next wouldn't be here today. All right? So we did that. We had our little Google letter. And then, oh yeah, where am I? Oh, pre-mover phenomenon. I'll bore you with this little story quickly. If you were moving and relocating, you were moving to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. In today's world, you got, whether your family was getting relocated or you got a new job, do you think you would go to the internet and Google Baton Rouge?
Yeah.
Right? And if you did a search for Baton Rouge and the #1 search result was the city's official website, do you think you would check it out? And if you had children and you landed on that city's website, right, and you saw things about planning and zoning minutes and council meeting and trash pickup and all those things, and you saw, and there was also something that said videos about the city of Baton Rouge, and it had real estate videos and had educational videos about the school system. Do you think you'd be more inclined to check out those videos?
Yeah.
Well, you would be what we define as a pre-mover. And when Bob was in Chicago, and the guy said to Bob in a bar, Bob, it's all about the pre-mover. What the hell's a pre-mover? Bob came back from that trip on Monday morning and was like, guys, it's all about the pre-mover. And we were like, yeah, it's all about the pre-mover. Whatever the hell that is. And what it did is it really honed in our target audience of business prospects. If we could talk to a business owner and do what I just did with you and they agree with that, we had a good shot at making a sale. So that was the pre-mover. That was the pre-mover phenomenon. That was really cool. We're up to 2007 here, give or take. Marketing would get a letter of support, the U.S. Conference of Mayors, whatever it would be. A sale is made, our sales team would get the letter of support, we can go out and sell it. Community production would occur, so even like some of your commons, we're going to deliver the product. That's what this is, that's what community production is. We deliver the product, great, thank you very much. Same thing on the sales side, we would sell the hell out of stuff, right? We would be going nuts, we would be selling businesses everywhere. We would sell a video. Business videography team, the production team would produce the video, we deliver the product. There was never any thought to renewing a business. We were the complete opposite of 99% of companies out there. We got the 80-20 rule. We just kept selling new business. We could care less about whether the client was happy or not. They were great. They weren't great. It didn't matter. We had a customer client retention, a customer service department of 1. Now we have probably half the company attached to it. There's not a business that comes into this organization today at any level, at any price point, that doesn't have a client rep attached to that business. But we were completely the other way in 2007. So we created our client relations management team, CRM. And the purpose, really a eureka moment, right? We said, hey, we want to have better startups and better partnerships with all of our non-paying partners. So we even paid attention to non-paying partners, all of our cities, all of those U.S. Conference of Mayors. We send a videographer out to the U.S. Conference of Mayors annual conference every year. We videotape it for them. We do it all for free, so that we can have those partnerships and we can use that umbrella influence, right? Those are all the different things that we did. Same thing on the business side. We wanted to improve client satisfaction. What a really cutting edge idea. Maybe we could get more renewals if we actually took care of our clients. What a great idea. So we did all of those things as well. So that gets us to about 2010. And it seems, not always, it seems that every 5 or 6 years things kind of align themselves for CGI. It just happens to be every 5 or 6 years significant things happen. We have the luxury of looking back in history. You usually don't realize it while it's happening, but when this story all rolls out, it was like everything was planned. We planned to do this, we planned to do that, and I assure you we did not. We just knew we would be successful. We knew we were going to be good. We didn't know what it was going to look like. The idea that, give me your 5-year plan, I just know it's going to be better than it is today. That's all I can tell you. I know it'll be better than today, but I don't know what it's going to look like. We might be doing videos on hieroglyphics, and they might be coming out of the screen by then. I have no idea, right? So we had 3 patents that we submitted in 2003. It took us 7 years. We got 3 patents. It's great. Patents are wonderful things. Proprietary technology gives you competitive advantage. I will tell you that Apple looked at our patents, didn't buy them. Jim Clark, Netscape, look him up. Jim Clark, met with him, gave us his ins and outs. Patents are only worth what people are willing to pay for them. It's a nice little thing that we've got. You can ask Kodak what patents are worth. They have supposedly a $2 billion patent portfolio, and they sold it for over $250 million. So, go figure. But anyway, those patents were pretty cool. We started a motion picture production company. Really great. We were going to make movies. Kind of a long story. So what time is it? I don't want to go too long.
You got 4. You got 10.
I got 10?
Yeah. If you want 10, you got 10.
I got 12.
If you want 12, you got 12.
So, we're running late on all of this stuff today. But, so 5th year production started because basically we met, we did something with Jim Kelly. Bob owned the arena football team, and Jim Kelly ball from the quarterback from the Bills. We did a fundraiser for his foundation. He introduced us to Peter and Bobby Farrelly out in Hollywood, the guys that did Dumb and Dumber, something about Mary. We're like, yeah, we're going to make movies together. And we had a partnership with Jim Kelly, Farrelly Brothers, and CGI. And we were all amped up to, we were going to buy National Lampoon. We were going to create the College Channel. Hence 5th year. Boom, right? So 5th year of production, we're going to do all this great stuff. We never did a thing. We never made a dime. We did put out a movie. The Hammer. Matt Hamill, the story of Matt Hamill. He's a UFC wrestler. Look it up, it's on Netflix. All right?
The Hammer.
He was a deaf UFC wrestler. Great human interest story. It really is. It's pretty cool. Got breakthrough film, did the red carpet, did the whole thing. Robert De Niro sitting right over there. I'm name dropping now. I hope you guys are really impressed. Right? Doing all that stuff out on Hollywood Boulevard, didn't make a dime, but what Bob did was one of his best sales moves ever. Called up the mayor of Buffalo at the time, who later became lieutenant governor, who's now the Chamber of Commerce director, Bob Duffy, and said, Bob, Jim Kelly wants us to move the business to Buffalo, and the Farley brothers want the thing, and they want it in California and Hollywood, and we want to keep it here in Rochester. So Bob Duffy said, great, we'll give you a bunch of loans and grants. If you create enough jobs, we'll give you a bunch of money, and if you create those jobs, and conversely, why the 5th floor, if you walk on the 5th floor today, you went on 5, different colors, different look, that was why. That was the 5th year production floor. So we created a whole bunch of jobs in downtown Rochester, none of them were 5th year production really, but a bunch with CGI, a bunch with e-localing. We started Next Ad Agency in the summer of 2010. Basically, one of our sales reps came into a meeting and said, we would always ask, if you have an idea, if you want something, he goes, we should be an ad agency. He gave us this wonderful presentation about CGI Now. We're creating all these videos, we should be placing media buys, and that became the genesis for what was Next Ad Agency. And essentially, Next Ad Agency can be broken down into a couple of very simple thoughts. If you're a business today, it's important for you to be visible on the internet. I know it's rhetorical, but yes, right? Clearly, we need to be visible on the internet. Number 2, is it important for your physical reputation to mirror your online reputation?
Yes.
Right? It should follow you, right? So those were screaming needs for businesses. So we built our business that way. Conversely, the other biggest and longest problem, and call it the albatross for any Main Street business owner, was how effective is their marketing and advertising? How many businesses truly know how effective their advertising is? They have no clue, right? How many times do you buy a product and anyone even asks you, how did you hear about us? Rarely, right? You buy stuff all the time. Think about the last thing you bought. Did anybody ask you? So how can they know what's working? Conversely, as Apple does their little iPhone launch, right? They do They launched the iPhone 8, right? They spent $1 gazillion promoting it. You think they have some pretty detailed analytics as to its effectiveness? Right? And they got cash, they got billions of dollars of cash to burn. But the Main Street business owner does not. So that's the essence of our avatar. When you see our avatar, and Don talked about it briefly, but the purpose of the avatar is to give people that answer. Forget about, you did an internet search, and because of that internet search, the business knows that you were doing a general search for dentists, and that's why they chose your business. But it wasn't the general search that really started that transaction. It was actually the referring doctor that said, your kid needs braces, right? And you need to call one of these 3 dentists, right? Or orthodontists. And you chose that orthodontist because they look good with their reviews. It was really the referring doctor that gave you the original impetus. It wasn't the internet that got you there, right? So giving that answer to a business owner is magic, right? That's a useful number. Great, you got 1,000 unique visitors on your website. Who cares? Why are they there? How did they get there? You had 1,000 page views, whatever. You had about, all those things don't matter. But if you can get all those pieces of the puzzle together, and because of that, we have, I think, officially an 82% retention rate, which is absurdly high for marketing and advertising. It really is. And that's something that we're very proud of. So we went from a company that didn't give a damn about retentions in 2007, so 10 years later, we're hyper-client focused. And what was really cool, and I think, here, this is relevant. Relocate.org. Relocate.org. In one of our meetings, and you'll see this nice Google letter, and there's a picture of Bob and our attorney out at Google in 2011. They had a meeting with Google Video and YouTube and those guys, and they said, put all your video content in one place. Take all your video content, all your businesses, all your cities, put it all in one place. It's a home run. It's a great product. You should do it. So CVNrelocate.org, which I think is still probably in existence in some fashion, is Snap Nation. That's how long this thing's been incubating. This is not, oh, let's give this a try. Startup, but not really. All right? It's just, we're in a position now to run this thing with the resources and all the rest of it, where we're not going to give it a try. We're going to knock it out of the park. All right? And that's what this is about. Snap Nation is just all of these things coming full circle. It's taking, as I said when I started, taking the best of ELL, taking the best of Next, taking the best of mobile elements and the behavior of everyone in the world today. So all we're doing is what you do personally, all the time, Snapchatting, right? Can a business tap into that element and have it be beneficial? Well, certainly Facebook advertising is beneficial for a business today. All right? It used to be, how can we, it used to be you only went to Google for businesses and you went to Facebook to see what your friends were up to. But man, Facebook has figured out a real effective way to get advertising in front of you. Man, that wine follows me around on Facebook all the time. Can't get away from it. He's calling my name, right? So those elements, and so we're just really tapping into the behavior that people have in their personal life. And if we can find a utility for a business owner, then we're going to make a sale. So all this other stuff that we talked about, and yes, all the things that you shared about why you're here and all those things, absolutely. That's how this thing gets built. And again, if you take the techniques and you keep an open mind, because again, what's Don's motive? What's his motive? Is his motive to have you guys fail?
No.
Right? He's not lying when he says he's not going to make a dime unless he has you guys be successful. Amen. The upside for us is to have you guys be successful. We know that. We know that. Right? But everything else, all of these, you know, all these wonderful, you said it in yours, we can cliche ourselves to death. Right? We can cliche ourselves to death with these things. But I will tell you that Snap Nation is a great story, and it simply is tapping into everything we've ever done. The digital rendering element of drawing a building in 3D on a map, it's the same thing we were doing for years. No, we're not going to give a printed version. That's true. That's too old school and too costly and too much of a hassle. But a digital rendering, no problem. We built our company with foot soldiers, right? Foot soldiers, door to door, right? Cheektowaga, New York, my first poster town, 1989. I learned what sesquicentennial meant. 150 years, by the way. All right. E-Localink became our Air Force. We were sharpshooting. We were bombing. We went from selling a $495 product or a $395 product and selling a $4,995 product. We moved the decimal point over a little bit. Got it. And we put it all on the internet, so there was no cost of goods sold. Magic. And have it. We've been doing it since 2003. The essence of our radio work. Right? Next, ad agency. Right? Tapping into the things that I talked about. Snap Nation, best of all worlds in one place. It truly is. It's not. It is not something that we just woke up with yesterday and said, let's just give this a shot. This thing's been incubating for 6 years. I'll tell you the truth. No one wanted to take it and run with it. That's a fact. No one wanted. We dabbled with CDN. We dabbled with Snap last year. It was called something else. Okay? We dabbled with it. We're not dabbling here. We're all in. All in. And hopefully, those of you that remain at the end of these 3 days are all in. Because if you're not all in, it will be a waste of time. It will be a waste of time for you and us. But if you're all in, you will get 100% from Don, Paul, myself, Mike, Greg, Alton, Amy, Katie, a bunch of others. Hopefully we can all connect a little later. That's all I got for you.
All right, my man. We call him the local Uncle Frank. That's Uncle Frank right there, taking care of business. What are some of the takeaways from that message? What do we got? What are some things that stood out to you?
Well, he hit on my favorite show, but Mark Lemonis teaches so much that I didn't know specifically what he was talking about. But
People, products, and programs? That's right, the profit, baby, the profit. People, products, and programs. You guys are leaving already?
Another meeting.
Why don't you briefly just introduce yourself and why you're excited about working with CGI?
Oh yeah, hi, I'm Megan, and I'm actually going to be located in the Knoxville office, and my friend Sam works there right now. And all he's ever said is really amazing things about the company and just how much growth there is potentially within it. So I'm just really excited to start and hopefully grow within the company and really expand my career here.
Great.
I'm Nate Pohl. I'm actually going to be a sales associate at the Louisville office. Literally just started a couple weeks ago. Like she said, the growth, the collaborative environment. I want to become an executive hopefully as soon as possible. I want to be able to travel, and CGI has a lot of big goals, so that's what I love.
Cool. Thanks.
We like to say if the goal doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. Right here.
Hi, I'm Dakota. I'm also going to be located in the Louisville office. You guys kind of capped it all, but for the most part, everyone here is super exciting, and you don't have a cap on how far you can go. So that's what I'm looking forward to. The sky's the limit. It's all yours.
Great. Thanks, guys. Well, you're actually training. They're actually training as well, working as a sales associate role within the company, which is something that is about appointment setting and working with local businesses. There's different facets and different avenues, of course, that they obviously do not have the same opportunity that you guys have to build out what you guys can build out, right? With your comp plan structure and all that stuff. So let's talk a little bit about some nitty-gritty stuff in terms of starting the flow of the presentation, and we'll get it started at least today. You're going to hear from Bob to wrap up tonight, and then we're going to hang out a little bit later on today. I think we're doing the 8th floor, right?
Yeah, we have
Dinner, barbecue.
Dinner. We're going to have some dinner and a movie. I think it's the Hammer, actually, that's going to be playing.
Cue that up.
So that'll be fun. So, you know, we'll hang out a little bit. There's kind of like there's some fun stuff down there, pool table, kind of, if you haven't checked that floor out yet, it's kind of like the game room area, and kind of like a lounge area. So we'll have some good times down there. But you guys are going to get a binder right now with your name, I believe, on the cover. Paul's going to help me pass some of the binders out. And we're going to actually dive into kind of what we would call the introduction of a basic presentation. And we will talk a little bit about that.
Tom?
Thank you.
Tom Kelly. Sure. Nick. Tim?
When you get your binder, let's open it up to page 4, please.
Charles?
Here.
Oh, sweet.
Sure.
That's you.
You didn't get a binder.
That's right. You're not going to binder, that means you didn't quite make the cut. Sorry. But the first couple of hours, sometimes decisions are made.
Jeff? Lance?
I'm ready. Lance. Thanks.
Rob? Derek? Nancy?
By the way, just to hit on a couple of brief things that I didn't touch on earlier. Training schedule for tomorrow and Thursday. If you remember, tomorrow actually runs 9 to 5. Okay, so tomorrow's a 9 to 5 day. Recommend that you get in here about 15 minutes early so that we can start on time and just be able to get things flowing. So that's one of the, what I would call expectations that we have, is that we're all here on time and that we can get started right on time and be able to make sure our agenda keeps flowing well. Okay? So that's tomorrow's routine. On the third day, on Thursday, it's scheduled from 9 to 2:30. All right, so the schedule, 2:30 is a hard close, and we're ready to go ahead and get back to our territory to get things rolling. We'll talk more later about how we'll have a group conference call on this Friday, just to kind of do a couple last minute tips, as most of you will probably be setting up appointments this Friday for the first time. Okay, so little thing like just dress professionally for training. It's obviously you don't have to wear a suit, but like many of you are dressed today, just business casual is fine. Dress to impress is always a good thing. I would say the last reminder, of course, is to obviously be, have positive expectations. So you guys are kind of like a beautiful bowl of fruit, okay? And what happens when you have a bad apple in a bowl of fruit? It spoils the whole darn bowl, right? So you got to get rid of that apple, and that's not obviously what we want to do, but you obviously do impact each other, okay, throughout the course of the flow of the training. So let's make sure that we're arms locked and ready to go. Now, let's open up to page 4. And Sherry, why don't you just start reading that for me, please, nice and loud.
Becoming a part of the Snap Nation family and walking the path of success here will take dedication to not only growing your future, but to the systems and processes that make Snap Nation a successful organization to be partnered with. Throughout your 3-day training program, Snap Nation has certain expectations for you to work towards. We will be evaluating you on the fundamentals and operational support elements of the company, as well as the functions of your position and how they will guide you to your future success.
A lot of that evaluation, by the way, takes place during role playing. Okay? And I talked about it briefly before, but when we spend time role playing, which we're going to do a lot of the next 3 days, I really want to encourage you to practice as if you were with an actual client. Right here. Sometimes it's easy to be in training and just kind of, put a half-hearted energy into it. Maybe you only do it one time, then spend time just chit-chatting and talking. It's not that we don't want you to get to know the person you're sitting next to, but for that time that we allocate to role-playing, we really do want you to try to do it more than once. All right, you should try to do it 2, 3, 4 times. The reality is you're going to be more confident doing it the 5th time than you were doing it the 1st. And so use the time here wisely to be able to get that comfort zone. None of you are going to be masters at the presentation by the time you leave on Thursday. All right, the goal is to get out there and do appointments that you'll start to get that confidence as you do more appointments. But you should at least have a good grasp of the flow of the presentation and how it's connected, how it's supposed to work. I think you're going to get that between a little bit today, but a lot of it tomorrow. All right, as we dive into all that stuff. Go ahead and read the next paragraph for me, please, Lance.
We suggest that to be successful, you should acquire coming to CDI Communication, Rochester, New York. Complete the online video pre-training series to familiarize yourself with the company history, product lines, partnerships, and any departments that you will encounter and will be learning about during your 3-day training portion. To assist in a successful seminar, we suggest that you watch videos about the company and all of the pre-training topics.
How many of you had that link to those pre-training videos? We're actually going to be revamping a lot of that as well, even adding more, but that was a good kind of preliminary understanding of what's going on. Okay.
It would be beneficial to begin preparation for your sales presentation. A script is provided, and you should be prepared to deliver your script to the trainer upon arrival and during the first day of training.
That wasn't necessarily the expectation here today, okay? You can finish up.
When the seminar is complete at CDI Communications in Rochester, New York, you will be sent back to your home areas to build relationships in your first territory. You will have ongoing success meetings with company sales managers to create an environment of growth in the areas which you will influence.
And a lot of those success meetings, by the way, are the one-on-one call that I talked about earlier, as well as conference calls. So you're going to see later that we have 3 conference calls a week that are planned into every weekly routine. They're short calls, 30-minute calls. We do them on Monday mornings, on Friday mornings, and then on Wednesday afternoon we do more of we technically do an hour call on Wednesday afternoon from 12 to 1, but the first half an hour of that call is more of an invitation for people who want to, it's more of like a leadership development call. Okay? And then from 12:30 to 1 we dive into more specific instruction. From 12:30 to 1 about the community director role. There's an open invitation for people to hop on at noon, and for a half an hour we kind of dive into leadership development topics. So we study some of the gurus out there of leadership, such as John Maxwell, as well as many other names, and we talk a lot about different leadership concepts and how it can apply to your business. And for people who see themselves maybe as developing in the role and maybe even leading other people one day, I think you'd find those calls pretty useful. Pretty valuable. So I'm a big believer that investing in your people pays off tenfold for the people who truly want to be invested in, right? And that who want to grow in their business. So everything we do at the end of the day is what we call mandatory for success, but they're all invitations, not obligations. You guys are business owners. If you feel like there's no value in you doing anything, we don't think you'll do very well on your own. We have systems set up for a reason. I've never seen anybody not attend any of our conference calls and be successful. And I hope you don't think I'll be the first, right? Don't take Bob's spot. I'll be the one who will never come to anything, but I'm going to really rock this thing. That's just a naive way of thinking, okay? Use our systems, use our programs to be able to know that coming in open-minded on every single call, there's always something that you can get from a call, every time. And if you're coming in with the wrong mentality, then that's usually more about you than just about the call, okay, that we have going on. So let's go ahead and turn to page 5, and we're going to talk for a few minutes about actually the intro, what we would call the intro to the presentation, and setting the foundation. Jeff, can you read the first sentence there at the top for me, please?
The introduction to the presentation has the same effect that paint primer has when painting a wall. It helps the actual content of the presentation stick with the customer after we set the stage with a solid introduction.
Okay, now this is obviously once an appointment is set on the books, correct? So we're going to spend some time today and tomorrow talking about how a sales presentation should flow. This isn't necessarily how to get an appointment. This isn't like what you walk in and say just to get an appointment on the books. Does that make sense? We're going to talk more about that tomorrow and actually show you how we set up appointments and all that kind of stuff. This is once an appointment's on the books, you're expecting to, by the way, who should we be doing appointments with? Of course, decision makers, right? These should be either the owners of the company, sometimes it's like the person in charge of their marketing decisions who might actually be, empowered and be paid to make those decisions. But it's really important, we'll talk more about this, that you guys understand the importance of being in front of the decision makers. The easiest way to just waste your time is to be doing appointments with people who have no authority to make a decision anyway for the business. Does that make sense? We're not doing appointments for, secretaries and receptionists and people who are just there to collect information. There is a right and a wrong way to handle those people. We don't want to be rude. It's not about being disrespectful. We want to treat all those people like gold because are they influential?
Yes.
Of course they are. I've had many situations where, I was a business owner, still am a business owner, but I had an office in Connecticut for, 12, 13 years. And I trained my receptionists to be great gatekeepers. Where every time there was phone calls coming in, because I probably got 50 calls a week from people that wanted to sell me something. Okay? But my receptionists knew that I wasn't going to just take random calls from salespeople, and they were many times trained, and many times would come to me and say, hey, Don, I think this is something that you should be aware of, that you want to have on your radar. So we'll talk about that more later, but there are important ways to treat a gatekeeper so that you can get your foot in the door sometimes with those people. It's not about just brushing them off, because that's an easy way for you to be viewed very poorly, right, by the business. But at the end of the day, when we have a set appointment on the books, what we care about are people who can make decisions. And that's generally, like you said, Jeff, going to be the owner, or it's a marketing person who you know is empowered to be able to make those decisions. So with that being said, there's really 4 brief steps that we're going to review together on how we kind of set the foundation of a presentation. An appointment is on the books, 1 o'clock on Tuesday, you're showing up there 5 minutes early, and you're about to sit down, and this is how the flow of that is going to sound, okay? So let's go ahead and look at just point 1 for me for a second. Tyler, can you read point 1, please?
Who I am and what my role is. This starts with the differentiation process and lets them know that your role is as much to interview them as the other way around.
Right, so obviously what you see in italics and bold is not something you're going to say. Okay? This is your...
Sorry, I read that too, though, right?
Please, yeah, I'm going to have you read in just a second. What you're going to see formatted here is what we recommend to be the script, what you would actually say. Now remember what I talked about earlier. Some people are a little funny when it comes to scripts. I'm going to highly encourage you to try to memorize this as closely as possible, but have it come across authentically in your own words, with your own tone, being genuine. Okay? But we know that this works. This has been proven for many years, by the way, in numerous companies, not even just this one, in terms of setting the right expectations of what we're going to talk about. And by the way, when this is done correctly, this entire intro script is about 2 to 3 minutes. Okay? Where I've seen common mistakes is people get off on tangents and this turns into a 15-minute conversation. It's not really the goal here. This is just setting the foundation. Time is money. 2 to 3 minutes gets the points across that you want to get across. When I say 2 to 3 minutes, I'm referring to like the time of you actually speaking through this intro. There's always going to be some time allocated to what we would call just building rapport. Does that make sense? When you start any appointment, you don't necessarily want to just walk right in and say, hey, glad meeting you today, Lance, and just flowing right through the introduction. That doesn't come across the right way. What are some of the things that you think would be common and easy ways to break the ice and to build rapport?
Ask them about the business.
Nancy?
You might see something on your desk, like a picture of a husband or a kid, and say, oh, just comment.
Yeah, absolutely. Look for common ground, right? That's one of the things you should always have in your head is, what is the common ground that I can connect on? A lot of times pictures on their desk give you all the things, all the ammo you need. Right? Family all over the place, favorite vacations that they've taken on their office walls, maybe their favorite sports team is sitting there, all over their office. Maybe it's a favorite musical group or something. There's always something, if you're aware of it, if you're looking for it, that you can make a connection on. That's really all you're looking to do. It's not about becoming weird. You're not spending 15 minutes just like asking them private details about their family and the intimate things about what they're fearful of. The goal here is just to find a connection. And the connection can happen in seconds when done right. Okay? Any other ideas? Nancy had a good one. Okay.
Well, I was just going to say, if you've done your research on their organization, you can always talk about their objectives and how the business might be able to help them achieve those.
Yeah, and that's actually, you're going to see an element of that even written in here, but it's a great point. And that's something that we highly recommend that you do, is you have some information, you know, going into that appointment. That's taking that step is huge. Tony, you're going to say something?
Yeah, if it's like raining or snowing, whatever, you go bring up a conversation about that.
Sure, okay. Something as simple as the weather can make a connection. I think the point is, by the way, what's everyone's favorite subject in the world to talk about? Themselves. Right? So if you have nothing to say, just ask them the question, how long have you been in the landscaping industry? What got you started in it? Okay? That alone will set the tone for them to chat briefly. It kind of diffuses the feeling that you're there to just sell them something. And it's the feeling of, again, in my mind, how I've always been successful in this type of an industry is to view myself as a consultant, not a salesperson. And a salesperson comes in and just tries to stuff value-building phrases down people's throats. Okay? A consultant is going to position themselves first off by asking some questions, and that's really what this intro is designed to do, is to allow you to be a consultant and position yourself effectively that way. So that your opinion now matters, as you're going to be sharing your opinion over the course of the 30 minutes. Or these appointments, by the way, if you you'll actually see it done tomorrow live. These are 20 to 30 minutes max. They're not long. They're not going to take up all day. You know, it's quick. It's action. It's all online. It's simple. It's easy to flow. A couple of clicks here, explaining what we're showing them. 20 to 30 minutes is you can be in and out, knowing a decision being made. And the majority of our appointments, I should say, the majority of our sales are made on the first appointment. First appointment. So how many of you have been in a background in sales before? Not many of you have been in sales, where what we call the farming mentality. How many of you have had to experience that, where it might take 6 months of work before you even get a contract signed? It happens in a lot of industries out there. And you know, there's nothing wrong with that field. Some people really thrive in that type of an environment. But that's not this business. And I have seen people who struggle with that mentality. And it's not because the business is different, it's because they're different. In their head, they actually think that they need to farm because that's what they're used to doing. Now, we still do farm here. The difference is that our farming takes place after they're a client. Not before they're a client. Okay? We sign them right away on the first appointment within 30 minutes most of the time. Occasionally, we will talk more about it tomorrow. Occasionally, we will schedule a second appointment for you to go back, and that's very, very rare. That's if you're in a situation where there's a partner there that wasn't there, and they really need to be there, and you only met with one of the owners. Even in those situations, I've had that one owner sign a contract. Okay? But it's not that a second appointment is like against the rules or anything. We can do it within the right situations. But I just want you going in understanding with the right expectations that the vast majority of your sales will come on your first appointment. And if that's new to you, embrace it. No, it's okay. Things that are new aren't necessarily evil. Okay? And just embrace that you're going to have to get used to the idea of going in, the mentality that I'm going to be able to get a deal done in half an hour. Yes?
What I was going to mention before was, I think people are always willing to listen if you're going to help them somehow. You know, like those infomercials where people are talking about a skincare product, or they talk about their hair falling out and now they have a full head of hair. If you're going in with the mentality, I'm going to help you, people are going to be more apt to listen to you.
Absolutely. That's what a consultant does, right?
Yes.
Here's the way I always view my role. As a consultant, my job would be to get paid to help that business owner make definitive decisions. And that decision could easily be a no, and I'm okay with that. But what I'm not okay with are maybes. Because that's what salespeople get. Is they get maybes, they get procrastinated upon, they get pushed down the can, they kick the can down the road. They don't ever get to a decision because the business owner is feeling like they're trying to be sold to. Does that make sense? Yeah. A consultant is paid literally to help people make decisions. That's what they're there to do. And through a series of questions and through using logic, which we'll talk much more when we go through the closing tomorrow, but the reality is that everything, as far as the close goes, you heard this in the famous movie Glengarry Glen Ross, right? ABC, we're always closing. Right? Always be closing starts as soon as you walk in the door. It starts with the first question of tell me why you're landscaping, what got you started in the business. I'm already closing, so I'm getting them to talk about their business. And I'm setting up what will be happening. Right? But the other thing I want you to understand before we finish this is a no is totally cool. It's preferred. Not preferred to a yes, but it's preferred to a maybe.
It's a definite.
What we don't want to have are a lot of maybes. We want to get either clear yeses, which is a contract, a clear no, which is this is just not a good fit, and we've asked a couple different ways to see if it really isn't a good fit, to get that feedback, or a definitive second appointment on the books. One of those three things should happen on every appointment that you conduct. If that's not happening, there's something wrong. That's the easy, clear-cut way to look at how appointments are supposed to flow. Okay? So, we already read the first point. Actually, we didn't even read it yet. So, go ahead, keep reading that point for me.
What I want to read with Connect today, build, report, and dive in.
Yeah, so you might want to put a parentheses around that. That doesn't mean you say that, obviously. Build rapport and dive in. Build rapport we just talked about a little bit. So all you're really saying there, hey, I'm glad we're able to connect today. Keep going.
My goal with the company is to find out which businesses make a good fit for our online community build out program. We take a ton of pride in which business leaders and community organizers we work with, and that's why we meet with all of the businesses face-to-face first.
So do you see how that doesn't come across like you're there to sell them something?
Right.
Right? Now we're not trying to hide anything. We know, they know we're there to show them the product, right, and the service. But again, you're positioning yourself effectively as a consultant and what your role is. Even a little sentence like, I'm glad we're able to connect today, that's very different than, I'm really, thank you for your time today. I appreciate your time today. You might think that it's really nice to say that, and you probably do appreciate their time today. But is your time important too?
Yes.
Yeah. So when you say to them in the very beginning, hey, I really thank you for your time today, I appreciate your time today, you automatically put yourself at a lower position than them. Because now they're doing you all this big favor just for what? Because they met with you. They're a business owner. So are you. Your role is, hey, I'm glad we were able to connect today. I think you're going to find in a few minutes that this can make a lot of sense. And we're going to flow right through this. So positioning yourself properly is important in terms of not just the words you say, but the feeling of the appointment. Does that make sense?
Being valuable.
Very valuable. Okay. Rob, can I have your read number 2, please?
Absolutely. Give some background on the program. We want the businesses to tell us why they would be a good fit for this in the end. We also want them to talk about their business a bit.
Okay, so that's just the objective here of this next section, so keep reading for me, please.
We want to capture the uniqueness of the local business owners in the community, and that's why, should I read the parentheses?
Yeah, so referral/com word, what do you think that means? What are we trying to do there?
Name drop.
We're name dropping, right. Now, like you said earlier, if we've done our research, we've either already been referred to this person, maybe we've met with a community organization who has referred us to this person, or at the very least, we might not even have a name necessarily yet, but we know something that they've been involved with, which is what this next sentence says, okay? So the key here is to be able to name drop somebody that's going to make you, again, sound different than the traditional salesperson who's going in. Okay, Rob?
Thought I should put this on your radar. We know you have been a business in X amount of years and sponsor X, Y, and Z, which is exactly why we are reaching out to you first as a community leader.
Now, in your research packet, how many of you saw at the bottom of your research packet there's a tab that says Community Leaders? You guys see that? Yeah. Then you also have a tab that says Full Business List, correct? Right. Community Leaders, if you look at it, what it's going to tell you is other things in the community, other sponsorships. This is done by Pat McCabe and his awesome team. I think you'll meet Pat tomorrow. These are things that we know that business has already invested money into in that local community. So by you doing your research, even though we gave it to you, what you're able to say to them is going to make you sound like a professional and make you sound much more, it's going to, again, the whole key word here is differentiate. What are you going to do that's going to make you sound and feel different than everybody else who wants to sell them something? You get that? And so you name dropping, hey, Jeff, I know that you've been a member of the chamber now for 25 years, and we're a big sponsor over at the downtown gala that they had here last month, so I really thought as a community leader that this needed to be on your radar. So what feeling did I just give Jeff? That he's important, that he's a leader in the community, that I know that.
That you're here to help.
right? That I did my research. I've never met Jeff before. But the fact that I say that, I guarantee you, you will have businesses be like, oh yeah, well thank you for mentioning that. They start looking at you immediately different as somebody who they should maybe treat different than a traditional salesperson sometimes. Okay? All right, keep reading please.
This program has various online elements to it, but it starts by taking these community maps.
Okay, so you're going to have the map. You have one up here, Paul? You're going to get, it's kind of like this, but it won't exactly be this. You're going to actually have like a physical map, right? That you can literally pull out right from the get-go and just show them, you know, kind of a hard copy. Because again, a lot of people are very visual learners, so they can see visually what this is, and then you're going to see how that's going to transition to the Snap map in just a second. Keep going.
That we created for communities all across the U.S. in the 80s. And putting it online in our Snap Nation 3D map, which I'll show you in just a minute.
Okay, now we're going to ask them just 2 questions. Because part of the objective here is to get a little bit of background even about them. Get them to talk about their business just for a second before we dive into the meat and potatoes here. Okay? What are those 2 questions, Rob?
Would you agree that it's important to have a strong online presence nowadays, since that is everywhere, where everyone is?
Where everyone is. That's obviously a fairly rhetorical question. What's the answer?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't care whether they have no website, which some businesses you meet with might. I don't care if they have the most expensive website out there. The reality is I think most people are going to agree that having some presence online is fairly important. Okay? So, I mean, what happens if they say no? Do you just pack up and leave?
No.
Okay.
Really? I got nothing else to say to you, punk. No. If they say no, by the way, it will be very rare, but who knows? You might have somebody say no. Here's the thing I know about any role that I'm in. I'm always going to be thinking on my feet no matter what. So even though somebody says something that's going to stump me, right, or throw me off, all you need to do a lot of times is just to literally ask a question to clarify.
Right.
So, okay, I can understand why you'd say no. It doesn't look like the website's that important to you. But would you agree, though, Jeff? There are a lot of people online today. Would you agree with that?
Sure.
That's all I need to hear.
Like you're telling me no, do you want the banner? There's a banner.
Do you want me to sign something else?
Banner.
Here's the point. You're not selling anything at this point. All you're trying to do is get an acknowledgement that online is important. That's all you're really trying to do at this point. Yes?
So, to stay with the program, on what you talked about earlier, I have a question about, does this need to be asked like a question like this, or can it be rephrased so that it is rhetorical, and you almost, on that, at least that question, don't give them the opportunity to say no?
Yeah, I mean, even if you ask it as a rhetorical question, it's still a question, in my opinion.
Okay.
So, you know, it doesn't matter to, you know the objective of why you're asking that question. But I would still ask it with an opportunity to have them respond.
Okay.
Okay? The second part of that question is simply this. So you just acknowledge that online is important, and then what do you ask, Rob?
Do you do anything to separate yourself online from the rest of the businesses in your industry?
That's it. Now what you're doing here, this is a great consultant question, because all you're doing now is positioning yourself as not somebody who's jumping in and trying to shove a product down their throat. You're there to truly find out if there is a potential need and what their thought process is about our service. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So when you ask the question, hey, I'm sure you'd agree that nowadays everybody pretty much has a strong online presence. Would you agree that's pretty important? Do you do anything, you know, Jeff, that you think separates you online from anybody else? And sometimes people are really prideful about what they do. I've had people go off about how, yeah, I spend tons of money in my online presence. That's why I don't think I need you. And I'm like, yeah, that's totally cool. You might not need me at all. I might not need you. But let me really show you what we do. Okay? Nothing's going to stump me this early, right? I don't care if they think they need me or not. They don't even know what I'm selling yet. All I'm going to show them is, again, the theory that online matters. If they invest tons of money in their online presence, right? To me, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I don't care if they feel like they need me or not. They don't even know what I have yet. I just want them to acknowledge that the online presence is valuable. It's key. It's something that they are actually passionate about in some cases. Okay? So there's that. Now we're going to transition into a brief little statement on what makes us different. If you look at number 3. David, can I have you read number 3, please?
Yeah, we are different. This program is different from what we seen and heard in the past.
So again, what was the key word I mentioned before? Differentiate, right? How to be different, how to differentiate. Keep that theme in your mind because it really makes a big role throughout the whole theme, throughout the whole presentation, really. Keep going, please.
Well, we partner with community organizations all throughout the U.S., national and local, including U.S. COM and
Conference of Mayors is what that means. United States Conference of Mayors is USCOM, right? Keep going.
NLC
stands for National League of Cities, which you'll see. These are all online in a second, but yep.
NACO.
Yeah, National Counties Association.
Chambers, Rotary clubs, etc. In an effort to enhance online and connect local business owners with their clients online using mobile technology, we specialize in mobile video, reputation management, and advertising analytics. We've been doing this for over 2 decades with various products over the years. We always focus on community, connecting community. No one else does what we do, but we do it.
Okay, so what in that little paragraph makes us different?
Connections.
Yeah.
These connections are, they might not have even heard of them before, it really doesn't matter. Just the fact that you can name drop the National League of Cities, the Conference of Mayors, which we will take them to the website in just a second. All you're doing again is helping them see that we're different. Are there other companies out there, by the way, who specialize in mobile technology?
Yes.
Of course there are. They probably have tons of calls in various ways. They don't really do what we do, and even the way that we do it. But the reality is that it's not like it's new to only Snap Nation to have a mobile technology focus. Okay? So when you're this early in the conversation, what is going to make us sound different? And it's that it's leaning on that leverage that we have with the community organizations that you can see there. And then the last point, this is an important one too that I see skipped by certain people. And I think, like I said earlier, if you find yourself at a point where you're not closing deals at least a 25% clip, which is pretty much what a company average here, our average is actually higher than that, but 25% I think is pretty conservative average that if you go out there and do 10 appointments with decision makers, you should fully expect to at least get 2 of them to buy. Fully expect. Okay? It's probably going to be higher than that, but it should be at least 2 that are going to sign contracts. Okay? If that's not happening, that usually means that there's something that we're not creating the expectation from the get-go that a decision will be made when? Today. Which is what we want to do, right? Nancy, can you read the last paragraph, please?
The decision will be simple, to eliminate or reduce the let me think about it or call me back objection, and this is a no-brainer either way.
What's the best time to handle an objection? Before it comes up. We're going to talk more on the 3rd day about how to handle objections after they come up, but that's never as effective as you doing an appointment in your mind, knowing exactly, here's the cool thing by the way, your clients, you're all going to hear objections when you leave here, and you start doing appointments. Every single one of you, we already know what you're going to hear, nothing's different, it's the same objections that we've heard for 30 years, okay? Your clients don't get together in neighborhood meetings to come up with new objections. Okay? That's just a reality. So the point is that since we already know what they're going to say, we can create a customized game plan to address the majority of those objections early and often throughout the course of the flow of the presentation. And this does exactly that. This is just one little thing, but the most common objection in any direct sales role is let me think about it. Because in honesty, it's not even an objection. It's a smoke screen. It's just a procrastination technique. It's not truly anything that has any meat to it because it doesn't give you any true direction. We'll talk more about that on the 3rd day. So we want to make sure we're identifying early how we can create a certain expectation that this should be simple enough for a decision to be made when. Good. Now, go ahead, Nancy.
We've been meeting with a lot of business owners, so we've put together about 10 quick slides that will explain everything. I will run through them rather quickly, but if you have any questions or want me to slow down, just let me know. I'll also show exactly how our video platform works on our Snapcast app and Snap Nation app, and show you the pricing options on our various packages. In the end, it will be clear if this is a good mutual fit or not. Do you think we can hop on your seat?
Computer.
Okay.
So that's your transition statement into the flow of the presentation. Do you think we can just hop on your computer real quick? If you want to bring an iPad with you or whatever, that's fine. I mean, the point is that you want to transition right into the presentation. And I personally do like to hop on their own computers. I'm sitting there in their place of business, and I'll say, hey, Rob, you think you can just hop on your computer real quick? He's like, yeah. I hop on their computer. You know, it's like I take over for a second, and I'm literally sitting in their chair, directing them through the internet, with the different things that we're going to be going over together here. I know Paul feels the same way. How do you feel about using their computer?
That's all I do. I've been doing this the last 9 years, over $4 million in sales. I would say 98% of the business owners that I'm meeting with, they want you to do it. They'll say, I don't know what I'm doing. You know, very, very rare do they sit there and want to, you know, do it.
The only people I ever hear who are uncomfortable with this are people who haven't done it. I mean, think about that. If you're uncomfortable with it and you've never done it, what are you truly uncomfortable with?
Scared.
I don't know. So all I'm going to say is that you have to at least give it a shot. I mean, it's not the end of the world if you do it through your own laptop or whatever. If you want to bring that with you, it's not a big deal. I just think that there is something kind of, it's like, you know, I used to sell Cutco, many of you know, and in Cutco, all of our appointments were typically conducted where?
At their home.
In their home, in their kitchen. Talk about personal. You don't get much more personal than that. Sitting in their kitchen with their kids around, I'm using their knives compared to our knives. We're using their food to cut stuff. It doesn't get more personal than that. It creates possession and the feeling like I already own these things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's the same mentality if you're on their computer, at their place of business, taking them through the Snap video on their own computer. They can now start to literally see themselves doing the same thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Versus if you're using your iPad, it's, well, that's his iPad. I'm not saying you won't get sales that way, but it's just different. There's a different mentality than walking into their home and showing them how it works. Okay? Yes?
I just want to make one brief comment because that's also bridging the gap. One thing we learned in sales when I was being trained is the biggest gap between you is this desk. And so if I can get on the other side of the table, if I can get us on the same side of the table, then all of a sudden it has that communication subliminally, like we're on the same page, we're partnering in this rather than me speaking to you. So it's bridging the gap.
I couldn't agree more with Merle. I mean, I know even when I would do like individual sales appointments, I would want to like sit right next to them.
Right.
I wasn't across from them. I would like sit right next to them. Just, it's all about feeling. And that's a good point. Any questions on the 4 points? Do you see why it flows the way it flows?
Yes.
All right, so we're going to spend a few minutes here, and we're going to literally role play this. Okay, question?
So, you'll be like at their computer and they'll be like sitting next to you, so you'll be running the show at your desk.
Correct. I'll sit right on their desk, right in their desk, not on their desk. And they're usually like standing right on my shoulder, or if there's another chair there, they'll just pull up a chair and they'll sit next to you.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Practice makes what? Perfect. That's right. Here we do jokingly say practice makes money. Okay? And that is also true. The more you practice, the more confident you're going to get. And so I'm going to highly encourage you to try to do this a few times with your partner. This is the only thing that we're really going to teach you today. So when you go home tonight, you're going to bring these binders home. I would read this over and try to work on this. And I would practice this in the mirror if you can. Just, you know, get comfortable with the flow. Here's another thing I think works really well. I would take your phone out, not right now, but when you go home tonight or in the hotel, and I would record yourself reading that, you know, right into your recorder, the way you want it to sound. Does that make sense? And that way when you're in your, you know, for the next week or two, you're out in the field, you should listen to that recording in between your appointments over and over again until you start to really sound that way on your appointments. For real. Because reading it out of there will give you at least the way you want it to flow. You're not going to take this and read it in front of them. And the first couple times you do it, it's not going to sound this way. And that's all right. But the more you listen to that recording, the quicker you'll get there. And the quicker you'll get comfortable with the whole flow of this intro. And then we'll talk a lot tomorrow about where we go from here and how we transition into other things, okay? So we're going to practice this one page, these 4 points with your partner, just obviously whoever you're sitting